Diego as the Padres take on the San Francisco Giants up in the Bay. First pitch tonight, if I'm right, is 7:10 tonight.
Yes, it is.
A late one. So get ready. Get ready. It's going to be a late one tonight.
7:10 or 7:15?
Yeah. Sometimes with the Giants, it is
I
7:15.
wrote it down this morning.
They could have changed it because whatever we printed.
7:15.
Oh, wow. Late night.
Late night. It's going to be all right.
How many
Padres going to fight.
How many San Diegans are going up there this weekend? Because San Diego State plays Cal.
Yeah, Woods will be there.
Well, that's true, too. Yeah.
I mean, how many Aztec fans are going to go up there, watch
Yeah.
the Pods, and then go watch San Diego State play Cal?
That'd be a fun weekend.
And last year at this time, we played St. Ignatius in San Francisco. This year they're coming down to play us. That would have been great. I could have stayed up there the whole weekend. It would have been nice. Missed opportunities.
Missed opportunities.
Thanks a lot, MLB baseball schedule.
Well, we have the opportunity to give you 4 hours of live local San Diego sports talk radio, and by gummit, we're going to do it for you today. Wrap up a full sports broadcast week, get you ready for Gwen and Chris at 2 o'clock, and then Padres baseball starting with Sammy at 6. Well, geez, what are they going to do? Are they going to go long, or are they going to let Sammy come on at 6? These are questions for Adam Klug to figure out.
Yeah.
That's a Dave Marcus question.
Yeah, they'll figure all that out. But by 7:15, we'll have first pitch tonight, and we expect Logan Webb to throw that pitch against the San Diego Padres.
Hopefully some bad luck for the Giants. It is Friday the 13th.
It is
It
Friday
is.
the 13th.
I didn't realize that until JH619 in the chat put it there. I'm like, I looked at my watch. I'm like, all right. Time to be more alert today.
And Adam, right in with the info. Gwen and Chris, till 6:10 today.
6:15 pregame.
Yeah.
Equal SoCal. Padres pregame.
Because I got to keep the clock right. But that's inside radio stuff. It doesn't matter. Here's what we got going for you today. We got a big show. It's a Friday. As always, it's a big show. And the first hour is a little bit more open. Topics-wise, we're going to talk Padres here right off the top, of course. We're going to get back into San Diego State, leaving the Mountain West for the newly reconfigured Pac-12 or 6-pack.
I like 6-pack.
Or Pac-6 or Pac-2, but it's going to be 6, but it needs to be 8, or else it can't be anything at all.
2-pack to 6-pack.
Seems like a lot to put on the shield, the Pac-6, but it needs to be 8, or else it'll be 0.
Maybe a little asterisk.
Yeah, Pac-6 asterisk. I like that. Bryce Miller will join us from San Diego Union Tribune at 10:35. He was at the big press conference yesterday at Snapdragon Stadium, or on Montezuma Mesa, I should say. And we will talk to him about how he has processed this news. Plus, we'll bring you in our next segment some more of what was said yesterday. I've gone through it. Annie, I've looked through it all. As usual, we have the fun sometimes of things breaking right on the show, and so you're getting snap reactions. I think I've come down to I completely understand why they did this, and that it's probably the best available option right now.
Right.
But it doesn't make it less of kind of a weird, lateral, risky move. It's being sold as a big step forward for San Diego State, and maybe someday it will be, but right now it's a big step sideways.
I mean, it's like, what's the opportunity cost of staying in the Mountain West where you were just going to have the same old, same old? There wasn't going to be much forward growth in that, it sounds like anyways. They have the opportunity to make more money. They have the opportunity to do more with their TV deals. They have the opportunity to bring some of that money. I mean, sometimes it's not even necessarily like a $5 million to a $50 million jump, but a $5 million to a $10 million, a $5 million to a $15 million, and that is going to help them. So I think that you had to jump at the opportunity you had. I think it'll be interesting to get into a little bit with Bryce, too. I mean, from my understanding, they didn't actually have a formal share for the Big 12. They had the half share, but it was a discussion about if they took it, they were not going to ever be able. I mean, they were still going to be at the bottom of the league. They were going to be kind of the bottom feeders. They weren't going to get in on all the money that the rest of the teams were going to make.
Yep.
So, you definitely have to. You can't look at all these like they're all happening in a silo. Like you say yes or no to one, and then you don't get to do that one again. Then you have to say yes or no to the other. I mean, it's the whole college landscape has changed so much in the last year, not to mention the last month. and it continues to change. So I don't know that any of them are the right decisions or like the perfect decisions or the most certain decisions, but they had to decide whether they were going to stay with what they knew or they were going to give themselves a chance for something better. And to me, it looks like they gave themselves at least a chance for something better.
Yes. And we'll talk about it more in the next segment as well. We'll talk to Bryce about it at 10:35. And we'll have Braden's football segment later in the show. So we got plenty of football coverage going into week 2 of the NFL, going into week 3 for college football. We'll get into all of it as the show continues. Of course, for the Padres, this is another weekend amongst all the weekends, and I'm going to go ahead and toss the caveats that I know will be tossed my way to set it up at the start. Yes, it's 3 of 162, and all of the games matter equally. That said, context matters, place in the season matters. This is the biggest weekend of the year for the San Diego Padres to date. To date, obviously, everything gets more important as you go forward. But 15 games left, and I'm telling you, until you get to the head-to-head games in the last week, which are defined opportunities because you're playing a team directly in front of you, this is the best chance the Padres have to solidify their playoff position for 2024. It is this weekend when they play the Giants, a team that is below 500, while every one of their opponents plays their toughest team remaining on the schedule. They all do it simultaneously. Arizona plays Milwaukee, right? The Mets are taking on the Phillies. The Braves are taking on the Dodgers. This is your chance. Yes, next weekend's your chance too. Every series is your chance. I know. But this is like the golfer who sees the perfectly tailored shot on the green that's exactly where he knows his 9-iron goes. It's the shot he's made a million times in his life. Yeah, you could also go eagle the par 5 that's next, but this is your chance right here to gain a stroke on the field. I truly believe that, and I'm looking forward to the Padres taking advantage.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big weekend for sure, and they want to make sure to get back on track themselves, I imagine. I mean, you want to give yourselves the best chance you have to not make it stressful at the end and give yourself the best chance you have to give yourself a little bit of room, right? They are not mathematically eliminated. The other teams are not mathematically eliminated after this weekend. So in that sense, it's not over after this weekend,
of course.
But they can definitely make it harder or easier for themselves. And all they can really do is focus on winning those games, right? Because even if for some way or shape, form, the Mets end up beating the Phillies or the Braves. I don't even know who's supposed to win in the Braves-Dodgers one, but whatever way that one goes, there is nothing they can do about it. They've got to go out, they got to win their own games, and that will keep them at least, setting that pace right under the Diamondbacks, or maybe getting past the Diamondbacks.
Around here, we've set kind of a goal. It's the short-term goal, which is to make the last week not be for everything. Mm-hmm. And right now, we're trending toward the last week being for everything. Right now, we're trending toward it being for everything in a pretty okay way, where it's like, all right, the Padres have these 6 games. They have to win 3 times, and if they win 3 times, they'll probably make the playoffs. That's kind of the trending direction they're going right now. But you'd love it to be, we wrap up sweeping the White Sox, and that puts the Padres' magic number at 1 going into L.A., where you can lock up the playoff berth, figure out where the seeding goes, and potentially not fire all your weaponry at Arizona in the final weekend when you might turn around and play them for real the next weekend where elimination is on the line. Mm-hmm. So you want to keep elimination completely out of the picture for the last 3 games of the year, or else it changes fundamentally the way you can even approach the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you have to get into a do-or-die situation for the last week of the year, the last series of the year, you're going to use your bullets a lot differently than if you can maybe game plan it, strategize it a little bit. Hey, let's rest this guy. Let's do a little bit over here. Let's use this guy. It's okay if we lose this game because we already know we're in it. We can set aside whatever players we need to for rest, for the wild card, this or that. If it's just do or die that last week or that last weekend, it's going to be, all hands on deck as it's been this whole time.
Exactly. So it starts tonight. It really does. And it starts with Dylan Cease. And Dylan Cease has 3 starts left this season. Right now, he's lined up to face the Giants, and then I believe it would be to face the Astros in the final game of that series, which would line him up to be in the Dodgers series. And he would miss the Diamondback series the last weekend of the year. That's 3 opportunities for Dylan Cease to get back on the beam, because realistically what he's done for the last month or so is pitch like a 4th starter. And the Padres need him to pitch like an ace. He's been giving up an ERA of about 4.5 for a while now, and they need him to lock in and be that dominant pitcher that they know he can be, because he's one of the elite swing miss, starting pitchers in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, get back into that good stretch. And for the Padres at Oracle Park this week, I think what might benefit the Padres is they've seen these pitchers. They've seen them, and those pitchers have obviously seen this lineup, but this is a good lineup for the Padres. And I feel like you get that many cracks at the same pitcher. You're seeing Logan Webb again. Obviously, he's a great pitcher, but they were able to get to him a little bit last week. And this is a team. This is a good offense, So even Mason Black, same thing. So I just think that this is an offense that's going to come out really having some knowledge of what they're facing here and be able to do some damage.
Absolutely. It's time. It's go time. This is an exciting time if you're a San Diego Padre fan. But now we are truly getting into the pointy end of the game. We're getting into the nitty gritty. So now it gets down to these basics. You've got to beat the Giants this weekend. Take care of business. Show us something as a club. Is it all over if you don't? Of course not. But as Annie said, you're in a much worse position if you go into next weekend taking on Houston. Maybe all of a sudden there you are tied with the Mets. Maybe there you are with the Braves sniffing down your neck. And now those games at home become must-wins. You don't want to make the weekend, the final week of the year, something where you have to win 4 or 5 games in order to make the playoffs. And that's still on the table as a possibility for San Diego. That's about where the worst-case scenario would fall right now for the San Diego Padres. But every one of the worst-case scenarios for the Padres involves them losing to San Francisco this weekend. So take them all off the table by winning this weekend and beating a Giants team that has truly nothing to play for. They would have to win out, and even that would probably not be enough for them right now.
Yeah, I think they're going to play spoiler. I think they're trying to play spoiler. Whether they have the roster and the capability to do it like the Padres did it last year, I'm not sure. But I think, it's at Oracle Park. That park plays a little funny. The winds, the obviously the outfield there, the corners. So it is a park where you got to, you want to come aggressive if you can. You want to be able to put up some runs early. You want to be able to kind of gain control of that game, because the Giants, I don't think, are lying down, but the Padres have the better team here.
Absolutely. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will take a look at the other major story. We already talked about it just a little bit, but we're going to head into a more fulsome discussion of the Aztecs leaving the Mountain West Conference, taking a big step. Is it a big step into the unknown? Yes, it's a big step into the unknown. And we'll lock down a lot of the reasons why when we come back. Plus, Bryce Miller will join us in the segment to follow. Got a lot of fun things lined up for you on this Friday edition of Annie and Elsten. Of course, our Padres Deep Dive Hour is coming up at 11 a.m. A writer I've known almost my whole life made a very reductive argument about the San Diego Padres yesterday. Said, say what you want about the Padres, this, that, the other thing. It only comes down to one thing. There's only one thing that's different between this year's team and last year. One, and literally only one. Is he right? We'll talk about it in our second hour of the show. 12 o'clock Sports Fix will be a weekend preview edition for you. We've got Mind the Gap as today's silly game, the game of multi-generational trivia. Media Melanie will be along in our fourth hour with Crossing Streams and a TV streaming recommendation for you. Braden's football segment as well to get you set for the weekend ahead. It's all coming up right here on Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. In order to know where we're going with San Diego State and the six-pack, formerly the Pac-12, but still the Pac-12.
I love Tupac to six pack.
Me too.
I think that should be a song.
It very well may be soon.
R.I.P.
I think it's important to figure out how we got here in the first place. Annie and Elsten here with you. Annie Halbern, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprano. We got Bryce Miller from the San Diego Union Tribune coming up in our next segment. Front Office Sports did a story on this yesterday, and within it, they put in what I thought was such an important timeline, because a lot of what we heard and what I've read following yesterday's announcement is how San Diego State can stand to make more revenue in television via changing brands from the Mountain West to the Pac-12, how they're going into a better television situation now than they were in the past.
Which I do have some television questions for you guys on this, too.
I do as well. But let's start with hearing from San Diego State. How about J.D. Wicker on if he expects the Pac-12 to regain power conference status? I think that's the key question within all of this. The Pac-12 used to be one of the elite conferences in football, given all of the special benefits that accrue to that, including putting your champion directly into the playoff. And right now...
Which we have a clarification on that as well.
Excellent. Is that within this? Or
no, just to clarify, with the new playoff, there are conference champions. There's 5 automatic qualifiers.
Yeah.
The Power 4 conferences don't automatically get one of those. They have to be ranked in the top 5, if that makes sense. So everybody that wins their conference has the same chance of getting one of those 5 as everybody else.
So in the universe where the SEC suddenly became the worst conference in college football, and every team loses.
Theoretically, if the SEC's champion was just really bad, they technically could not. It's not guaranteed, but I think most people just assume, which is a good assumption, that the Power 4 is going to take the top 4 automatic qualifiers for conference champion, and you're still trying to battle for your, with the other conferences. So essentially, San Diego State goes from the same thing in the Mountain West to the same thing in the Pac-12. They have the same odds of making the playoff as an automatic qualifier.
Right. Unless they improved the conference's status. That's what J.D. Wicker was talking about yesterday.
From a competition standpoint, the Pac-12 obviously lost its designation as a power autonomous conference. With these additions and whoever else you bring in, do you expect it getting back to that level?
I mean, we're going to work towards that. I don't know that it's going to come. It's not going to come automatically. It's going to be something where we're going to have to earn that. So, you've got, again, it's so dynamic. This conference will start as a new CFP starts. Some of that's been settled. Some of it hasn't been settled. Is it going to be 12? Is it going to be 14? Is it going to be a 68-team basketball tournament? Is it going to be 72? Is it going to be 76? You've got the House settlement out there. There's so many different things that, we've got to work through. But the most important thing is the 6 of us at this point, and then, whoever the other members are when we, kick off the league on July 1, 2026, we're going to put our heads down collectively, and we're going to work as hard as possible to be at the top of the college athletics spectrum.
Okay, so...
Does he really answer a lot?
It's a fair answer from him in his position, which is like, well, we hope so, but
we hope.
Yeah,
I think that he's saying we got to work for it.
Yeah, it's not going to. The most important part is they won't just be handed it.
Right, and you're not just automatically going back to how it was.
Not even close.
Also, the power status comes from like all of these conferences meeting together and deciding whether or not you're a power. It's not like there's a certain thing you have to reach to be a power conference.
Yeah,
you got to convince the Mouse and Fox that you deserve to get power conference level money. And then the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 and ACC, if they're still around, they're in their little club, and they have to like invite you into their club and go, we're going to take less money so you guys can have more money. Yeah. The politics of this is making it look like I don't think they're ever going to get Power 5 status unless they get a bunch of big boys in there that can negotiate Power 5 status.
Okay, so here's the brief history that I think is so important to keep in context when we're talking about this new conference going forward. The Pac-12 network, which is being described as as the very important part of this. We've got the Pac-12 network. We've got the opportunity for the revenue that the Pac-12 network will create. Okay, the Pac-12 network is a thing that still exists and existed in the past.
State-of-the-art facility in the Bay Area.
In the past, it was airing games involving Stanford, Cal, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, USC, Colorado, Utah, some of the biggest programs in the West Coast. And the reason the Pac-12 dissolved is not just because of the wacky realignment. Whoa, something wacky happened and the Pac-12 disappeared. It's because they couldn't get a TV deal. It's because the Pac-12 network could not secure a media rights deal beyond its own cottage industry, its own house organ. So what happened in June 2022? UCLA and USC said they're leaving. They're going to the Big Ten.
They were tired of playing Friday night road games on a network that nobody could watch and losing and getting themselves screwed over.
Right.
Fair
However,
enough.
the other 10 teams in the Pac-12 were there. They were set. And the Pac-12 commissioner was negotiating a new media deal. But then the Big 12 jumped in front of them and got a great new deal with ESPN and Fox. And that was a deal at the end of 2022 that they thought they were going to have, and they didn't get it. So then they kept working on it. July of the next year, still no media deal. This is selling Oregon versus Colorado. This is selling Utah, against Berkeley.
And remember, the reports every time was every 2 weeks they're like, it's going to be done in 2 weeks.
Right.
We're almost done.
Yeah, almost
We're going to be
there.
set, and then we're going to be great. And we're going to add all these teams, and it's going to be better. And it was always, it's going to be a better deal than what the Big 12 got. That was the promise every time.
And they never, ever, ever got it, at which point Colorado said, forget it. We've waited too long. We've got a shot for the Big 12. We're going to jump. And then when they jumped, Oregon and Washington said, okay, we're out of here. Big 10. And then Arizona, Utah, Arizona State said, see ya, Big 12. Stanford and Cal goes, all right, we're out of here. ACC, Oregon State and Washington State are left holding the bag.
Do you remember what the deal was that they were offered by Apple and Amazon?
I do not.
It was a deal in which they would make money based on how many subscribers each team would have.
Holy cow.
And it was not guaranteed that you were going to get big money. So
Yeah,
it
you're
was all
doomed.
about based on how big your fan base was.
Right.
And Oregon State and Washington State thought it was great. And everybody else was like, no, this is not great. This is not a guarantee. And then that was the ultimate, we'll see ya from Oregon and Washington.
So I wanted to put that out there to illustrate the big point here. With all those great, prestigious, historic universities, the Pac-12 could not secure a media rights deal, which led to all those big, prestigious universities skipping town to go to a conference where such a deal already existed and where the infrastructure for stability was there. And now the six-pack featuring the two least interesting teams of the previous Pac-12 and four teams that have been playing on CBS Sports Network at Saturday nights at 8 o'clock, that's supposed to get a better deal than the... How? How is that going to be a better deal than the previous situation?
I mean, they were making $5 million with the Mountain West. So if you're making $5 million a year and you have a chance to make, like I said, maybe $10 million, maybe $15 million at some point.
But why?
But what we're saying is, or what Craig's saying is, and I agree, it's like,
But maybe they
who's
could've-
going to give them $10 million a year?
Right,
Maybe,
just for the
but
name?
maybe it's like $7 million for the first year. Maybe it's like, you're getting a few more million per year than you would have gotten with the Mountain West.
Which is costing you $17 million.
So you got to
To
look at this big
leave.
picture. You got to look at it like by the time you pay off that, you're not going to be at the place you want to be in the next 3-5 years. Like I think they're looking at it like this is hopefully for us 10, 15 years down the line, more lucrative than us staying with the Mountain West right now. Perhaps they couldn't get a TV deal with those other schools because those other schools would have demanded more money. They're not going to get the kind of TV deal with the former Pac-12 that they're going to get with this. No doubt about it. I mean, they're going to get a much smaller TV deal than with the teams that were originally with the Pac-12.
Well, that brings up my question to what you said.
But probably higher, they think, than the Mountain West.
It's my question I bring up to what you said in the first statement, obviously it wasn't a guaranteed, here's an offer, sign it, and it's delivered, but they were negotiating with the Big 12. A half share in the Big 12 right now would have guaranteed you stability and safety in a power conference.
Right.
A guaranteed power conference. It's the same question of, would you rather be Vanderbilt or would you rather be Tulane? Would you rather be at the bottom of the SEC or be battling it out in the American Conference? Sure, you win some championships, but if you look at recruits and everything, players want to play at the highest level. They want to play in the biggest conference. They want to play on national television. They want to play in these big games. And when you're getting $50 million plus a year, I'd rather take that deal. Now, it was a half share, right? I mean, the other group of 5 schools that joined the Big 12 got $18 million in a half share. That's still better than a full share. And, if you want to be the Pac-6 champion and just be like, hey, look, we did it, I mean, that's great. But to me, for stability and long term, if you don't have a stable conference, what is stopping these big conferences from potentially plucking more? Like, what happens if they decide to pluck Oregon State and Washington State magically down the road, and now you're stuck again, and you have to do this again? And what are you going to do? Invite all the Mountain West schools again, and then you got the WAC 3.0. I think at the time of right now, I do think it's probably in their best interest to make this move. They are going to make more money. But I just think the reaction from a lot of people of like, this is just like joining the Pac-12 if it was 2003.
No, it's nothing
is
like it.
such a miss. It's such a miss.
Yeah, no, it's not. And that's just the point. And I think we all agree then as we head into Bryce, it's not like San Diego State, you made a terrible move. This is the wrong move. You should have stayed with the Mountain West.
No.
Now, the Mountain West could have tried to recruit Oregon State and Washington State inside their borders. There are reasons. People from around the basketball side explained it to me pretty well, how getting out of the Mountain West is probably good for Dutcher no matter what, because he'll just schedule a tougher schedule, and that'll be more
to work with.
Yeah, more attractive to watch. He's going to be able to play better programs. That means really it's better games at Viejas Arena overall. Still not what it would have been if you were playing UCLA and if you were playing Washington and Oregon and
assuming
Stanford.
You can convince somebody to come out here. Nobody wants to play San Diego State at Viejas.
Well, that's true too. It's a different challenge, but it's kind of housing your own risk reward as opposed to putting a bunch of quad 4 schools in your regular season schedule that actually hurt your chance to make the tournament, even when you beat them. It lowers your strength of schedule and it lowers your Ken Palm and all those other analytics that lead a team into the tournament. So I get it. Best available option, yes.
Yes.
But we got to look at it as fans, clear-eyed, cold and clear-eyed, and recognize they're actually taking a risk.
It is a huge
as
risk.
well.
I thought that J.D. Wicker addressed that. I thought, I mean, and what I read, that was kind of said. We're taking a risk. We, this is not perfect. We have to build this thing to be a powerhouse of status, but to me, it just kind of read to me more like, but they have the opportunity to do that. Whether or not it happens, but they certainly seem like they're going to give it their best shot at trying to get it to something more impactful than what the Mountain West was.
I think this is just like a trade proposal, though. I mean, how many times do we hear trade proposals and we go, well, what are we giving up, right? I think the same thing could be said about adding. Everybody just said, well, we're just going to add 2 more teams and we'll be great. Who are you going to add?
Right.
You
Let's
could
talk
just
to
keep
Bryce
saying
about
about it,
It's
but
gonna
who are
be a
you
big
going
deal.
to
Right.
add to make this the power conference that you want? Because some of the options that people have thrown out there are not even realistic. And so that to me is the most interesting those thing. I mean, if you show up with Tulane and Memphis, you're calling is that a power conference? I mean,
Why are you going to get a TV deal to watch those 8 schools, to watch the
100%.
Fresno State Tulane game?
correct.
When
I got Arizona State, BYU at the same time in the Big 12.
Let's talk to Bryce Miller about it, San Diego Union Tribune columnist. He's coming up right after this quick timeout on 97.3 The Fan. Well, it's that old Confucius curse, may you live in interesting times. This is a very interesting time for college football overall. I feel like every time we talk about this subject, we continue to get our minds blown as the sport is not evolving. It feels like it's more like metastasizing. Like it's spreading out of control, and the changes are out of control. And now San Diego State trying to take control of their destiny. They don't want to be a part of a conference that winds up getting poached piece by piece, and then they wind up in a situation like Oregon State and Washington State, left on the outside trying to build something. Instead, they are aligning with those schools to try and figure out the six-pack and make it back into the Pac-12. What are the challenges ahead? We are happy to once again welcome to the program, friend of the show officially, columnist from San Diego Union Tribune, Bryce Miller, joining us on Annie and Elsten. Good morning, Bryce. It's always great to talk to you.
Good morning. How are we doing today?
We're doing good, man. I mean, this came out right before our show yesterday, so we've kind of been grappling with it on the air. You had the chance to be at the press conference and wrote about it today, and I think where I've personally settled, Bryce, is that this made a lot of sense in terms of best available option, but saying that it's a guaranteed success, I can't even come close to saying that.
No, and I get that perspective, and it's fair. I mean, right now, any concern potentially long term about this deal is fair, but I think part of the equation that's baked in is, basically, and that was the premise of what I wrote today, is if you can get out of the Mountain West, you get out. I mean, you've lived there, you know what that's like, you know how hard it was to get, for so long, multiple NCAA tournament bids. It was just a couple of years ago, I mentioned this too, that, Aztec football was on like glitchy online streaming services. It wasn't even an over-the-air carrier TV option. There just doesn't seem like a future is there for any of those top programs. Why would you expect them to create, substantial growth? Their track record is there to see. So part of it is getting out of that conference. And I think it's, again, fair what you said that, best available option. This isn't what it was, August 3rd of last year when there was still a Pac-12 that had USC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington and Arizona and all those schools. But they've got money and they've got momentum and they've got a TV network that offers you all kinds of advantages potentially. You're at a time when the TV deal is running out in the Mountain West with CBS and Fox, with the ability to negotiate. You're kind of first at the table potentially. And as J.D. Wicker said, there are more carriers available, Discovery, the CW. There are options out there if they're smart about it. The old Pac-12 wasn't. They overplayed their hand. They never pulled together a legitimate, sustainable, long-term, successful TV deal. And these four schools had to, sit and talk about that in particular as they made this move. I just can't imagine four schools would make this move without understanding what best and worst case scenarios were.
Yeah, Bryce, great point. And also that there is a new people at the helm, right, with this new Pac-12. I mean, this is a different path that they're treading versus the old one. And I thought you did a really fair job in your column. I suggest everyone go out and read it because I thought it was a really good look at, yes, there are risks involved with this, but there are simply risks in just staying with the Mountain West as well and staying a status quo, right, like you wrote. We've had a lot of talk even on this show about what happened with the Big 12. And from my understanding, there was really not a formal offer. There was discussions about getting a half share, but they would have been at the bottom of that conference and not getting maybe all of the benefits that some of the other teams were getting. However, maybe more stability would have been in the case with that, or more money potentially. Do you know anything about that, and maybe the direction of them not taking that and instead going this way?
I haven't talked to J.D. Wicker directly about this. I think Mark Ziegler, our colleague at the UT, probably has. he's the one who mentioned in a previous article that there was the Big 12 offer for a partial share. But so no, to be honest, I don't know more about that in particular. I just know that existed. But my point would have been, even if you could have made the money work out at a partial share long term, you're sending teams to Morgantown, West Virginia, and Orlando to play Central Florida. Geographically, it's just a mess. It's what life will look like in the ACC if that still holds together. There are legal challenges with Clemson and Florida State that could unravel all this, but this is what Stanford and Cal signed up for out of desperation, of playing in all three time zones, coast to coast. And you have to weigh how much money makes that worth it. So that's got to be part of that. But the starting point of whatever this PAC thing turns into, if they go out somehow, even though Stanford's a huge long shot, I think, but if you got Stanford and Cal back at the ACC unraveled, that has a different look. That starts to look like a conference that could sell a media rights deal, that could be sustainable. Stanford in particular would. And then maybe it would make so much sense to go get UNLV. I don't know why that didn't happen initially. Maybe there's some hesitancy from UNLV about the exit fee and working that out. I don't know. But just the growth in Vegas and all the pro teams, just the energy of having that market. If you get a conference that adds Stanford, Cal, and UNLV, that looks very different. So they did roll the dice, but I think they looked at possibility and potential, and they didn't do it after crushing a six-pack of beer and throwing a dart at the wall. They did it with a lot of research. Now, that research might fail them, but all four of those schools together, collectively looking at all these scenarios, they saw a brighter future than they saw in the mountains.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw a caveat on that of the potential for a brighter future in the Mountain West. And,
Right.
I'm hearing absolutely what you're saying in terms of potential. Like, well, yeah, of course, it's a different conference if Stanford and Cal are in it. The Padres have a way better chance of winning if Shohei Ohtani's on their team, but he's not, because he went to went to the Power Conference, right? He went to LA.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking at is that the six pack is really in the same boat as all these other and like they have to get to, right, in order to even be viable, they have to get two schools. So obviously you want to hold out. If those two schools were Stanford and Cal, great, but that requires a shoot the moon scenario where all the dominoes tumble the exact right way. You can never plan for that. Hope isn't a plan. And when in your paper this morning, John Wilner's column talking about, well, who might actually go to the new Pac-12? Memphis, Texas, San Antonio, UNLV, New Mexico. If you put those four teams into this, okay, now we got a Pac-10, now we got a real conference. Do we have something that is literally attractive to CBS or Fox or ESPN, or have we rebuilt something that's kind of just another version of the Mountain West? I think it's a rebranded version of the Mountain West. And again, I think it's the right decision, because hanging into the old decision just leaves you maybe holding a bag of nothing at the end of the day. But I guess I really see this as being very much incomplete at this point.
Well, yeah, right now it is. They have work to do, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. And they admitted that. And again, all four of those schools know that's the case.
Right.
And again, do you trust that they did their due diligence about what 10 years from now looks like? And I think they had to. The things that I asked JD Wicker afterwards, what is the confidence in this thing financially being rosier down the road? He goes, the people that we got data from have track records of delivering on it. We went through all these scenarios, trusted the people that did the research. And it gets so much more under the surface complicated than any of us even know. But they've researched the appetite for college sports inventory and the amount of carriers that are new on the horizon. You may not have to be the sexiest conference and make the kind of deal, and you're not going to make the kind of deal that the Big Ten or the SEC or even the Big 12 made. But you could still make a really viable TV deal, depending on the moves you make moving forward over these next 2 years, that makes it financially a better spot to be by leaps and bounds potentially than the Mountain West. And I think that's where they're at. But yeah, there's no doubt there's work to do.
Yeah, and there was a lot of good coverage in the Union Tribune today. You, Mark Ziegler, John, also Kurt Kenny wrote about how J.D. Wicker, and you were at that press conference yesterday, so I know you can speak to this, was pretty emotional when he was talking about it. But when you take a look back at the year that they had and how he was sitting, J.D. Wicker was sitting in Canton when he found out that the Pac-12 deal that they thought they had before dissolved, right? Or that conference dissolved. And it kind of points back to what you're talking about, that there's a lot of work that's gone into this, not just to get to this point, but a lot of work in figuring out the changes that need to be made for the university. And in one case, and last year at least, I mean, it kind of went up in flames, right? So there's a lot of kind of just work that they've kind of put in here to get to this point, like you're talking about there.
Yeah, I asked JD after the press conference where that emotion came from, and it was a bigger picture of things.
Mm-hmm.
It really does kind of map out what he's had to navigate himself to make a lot of things happen. The stadium deal, the land acquisition from the city, basically fighting at city council to get their lease renewed at Old Qualcomm. They were basically getting kicked to the curb. Making that deal happen, getting a stadium built, COVID putting the brakes on everything and changing everything financially. At the time you're building a $310 million stadium, thinking you have navigated a deal into the old Pac-12 that university's wanted forever, and then, as you said, get your feet kicked out from under you. All those things, from the land to the stadium to COVID, to conference realignment, that guy, he gets paid to do it, his job, but he's been through the ringer too. There's no doubt that there are very few people in this country on a college level who've had to navigate as much as he's had to navigate over these last 3 to 5 years. And so I think that was part of it, that he saw, in his mind, based on what he knows behind the scenes, a pretty good finish line that he's confident can put San Diego State in a better place. Again, we'll see, but all those things kind of led to the emotion in the way he explained it to me.
Really well said, Bryce. We always appreciate your time, man. Agree this is a big weekend for the Padres?
They're all big, right?
They're all
That's
big.
The way there's not much left.
They're all big.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm signed up hopefully to go to LA and Arizona those last 2 series, because there are just so many things that can happen. I mean, and there's so many head-to-heads among those 4 teams that are really going to pretzel this thing up. But it should, if you're a baseball fan and you're paying attention to the National League wildcard race, it's about as entertaining as you're going to get over these next few weeks.
We just have to keep reminding ourselves that as we watch the game. This is entertainment. I'm being entertained. I'm not filled with anxiety. I'm not filled with dread and horror. I am having fun. Bryce, thanks. Always fun chatting with you, man.
Try to have fun. All right.
Thanks, Bryce.
There he is, Bryce Miller. He goes wherever the big story is. Saw him at Alex Morgan's last game last weekend at San Diego State for the big announcement. He's going on the last big road trip. It's all coming together here.
And I think, he wrote a really good column talking about, hey, there is potential here, but also, like you mentioned, there is also risk, and they've got to work to find that potential and work to try to make this as invigorating or as much of a success as they believe it to be, but still going to have to back that up with action, no doubt.
Outstanding. Let's take a time out. When we come back, it's time for the Padres Deep Dive Hour. And when we get started with that, we're going to start with discussing something that my buddy Joe Sheehan wrote in his newsletter that gets put out, multiple times per week. I thought when I first read it, dang it, Joe, been waiting for you to write about the Padres for a month, and you write this? You write this? It almost felt insulting when you first read it. Is he right, though? I don't know. We're going to talk about it when we come back. What is he talking about? You're going to have to stay tuned to find out. That's why we call it a tease. It's Annie and Elsten rolling into hour number 2, final show of the week right here with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The Padres Deep Dive Hour has arrived for Friday. For Friday the 13th. Is there any anti-jinxing things we can do for this?
I love Friday the 13th.
What?
Spooky
Come
Annie
on,
over
spooky,
there.
Yeah, I want it to
Spooky
be
Annie.
cold and.
It was chilly last night. in
But it's
Spring
not
Valley.
Halloween. It's Friday the 13th. It's just unlucky, isn't it?
Or it could be lucky. I mean, Manny Machado's number is 13.
Oh.
Maybe it's a
reverse
jinx, right?
Well, now you got me thinking.
Annie's gonna go home and watch all the
Friday the
Friday
Machado.
13th movies.
Okay. All right. No, you just turned it around for
Yeah,
me.
it's
13 is Machado, so we're
know.
good.
We're in it.
The
We're
strong
good.
survive on this kind of day,
Yeah,
right?
let's go.
That's right.
Here we go, Manny. Here we go. Looking forward to tonight. 7:15, latest start time remaining on the season schedule for the San Diego Padres. I feel confident saying they wouldn't play a playoff game this late. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think this will be the latest that we have to wait for Padres baseball. Is tonight, 7:15, up at Oracle Park for the Padres and the San Francisco Giants. Your Padres Deep Dive Hour is presented by Frozen Ropes Baseball and Softball Training Facilities, now introducing the Freezy Batting Cage membership for just $79 a month. For more information, visit SanDiegoFrozenRopes.com. Well, we've got Dylan Cease on the mound tonight. And what I had seen in the paper was TBD, but all the way I've heard that it's Logan Webb tonight for the San Francisco Giants.
I see Logan Webb in the probables, but
Okay.
I
No, I think that's what it's supposed to be.
MLB.com says Logan Webb.
That's all I need. That's all I need. So there you go. You're facing their ace tonight.
right.
You're facing a guy who is, I would say, not uniquely bad, but he is in a limited range of the worst matchups for you in baseball. Why do I say that? Because Logan Webb is the combination of a relentless strike thrower who is also a relentless ground ball pitcher. And what is the Padres' primary weakness as an offense? It is the ground ball double play, which they lead Major League Baseball in ground ball double plays. The last time they faced Logan Webb, he allowed 12 base runners in 6 innings and still only gave up 3 runs and wound up being the winning pitcher. Why is that? Because he spun 3 double play balls in 6 innings.
Yeah, he had 3 double play balls. Season high 10 hits over 6 innings in the win, but like you said, got those double play balls when he needed them, locked in there.
Yeah.
This is the third start this year against the Padres. He's got a 3.32 ERA over 3 starts this year against the Padres. So, yeah, I mean, again, I want to say that maybe this offense will be able to do a little something against him. They've seen him so much now. But if he is on his game like that, it can be difficult because of those double plays he induces.
Also, he has been, throughout his career and again this year, way better at home.
Yeah.
Than he is on the road. At home this season, Logan Webb has a 2.67 ERA and a whip of 0.99. On the road, that ERA is 4.30, and that whip is 1.47, almost 1.5. So he is a dramatically better pitcher at home with the gusty wind, those ground balls. It's ice cold.
He's used to that 7:15 start.
Honestly, and you pound the ball into the ground all night against Webb, and when you put it in the air, it's into the swirling wind of the San Francisco Bay with the deep walls, and he generally doesn't give up homers. He's only given up four homers in 97 innings at home this year, almost 98 innings at home this year.
Really good at home, then. I mean, really good. And that ballpark, too, that's a factor. It's not players' favorite ballpark to be there.
The last thing about Logan Webb is that he is the true innings eater in baseball. He's got 189 and 2/3 innings pitched already this year with 3 starts left to go. So he's going to go over 200 innings again in his career. He is a guy that is he is not a true number one in terms of ultimate performance, although he has been, in his career. But last year he had 216 innings. This year he leads all of Major League Baseball in innings pitched and in starts. And he is that guy. He's that horse for the Giants. So it's a real tough challenge today. Yeah, he's redheaded.
He's redheaded.
And he is often terrible in the very beginning of the game. And the Padres had their chance against him last weekend. Run in, bases loaded, nobody out. first 4 reached. Machado singled to drive in a run with the bases loaded. And Xander came up in a 1-0 game and grounded into a double play. And that put in a second run, but it killed the inning and it killed your chance to go get Logan Webb. Usually you have to get him in the first or else he's going to lock in. And the next thing you know, you see him in the 8th, still throwing that sinker on the outer half. That's all he's going to do all night. He's going to throw that sinker that comes from outside the zone, bends over the outer half of the plate, and he is begging you to hit a ground ball to shortstop.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're hoping for tonight for the Padres. Get aggressive early, try to get some runs on the board early, because if he does lock in, that is like what we saw at Petco Park this last week. The other thing, too, is make him work if you can. I mean, make him work. Foul off as many pitches as you can. Try to, wait for that pitch that you think that you can do some damage on, obviously, but just try to make him work more, see a lot of pitches, and maybe kind of getting him out of the game a little sooner.
We'll have all the coverage for you with Sam Levitt coming up at 6:15, of course, on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. All right, now I'm going to pay off the tease if you were listening at the end of the first hour and talk about my buddy Joe Sheehan. His Joe Sheehan newsletter has been published for 16 years. I knew him all the way back. Gosh, I first met him in 1990, but he was one of the original writers at Baseball Prospectus, which is now, grown and grown and grown. And most of the original writers moved on to do huge things here, there, and everywhere, including Joe. Joe works out of New York. He watches the games. He stays up late, so he does watch West Coast games, but he does this from a purely national perspective. And as such, he watches the teams on the East Coast way more than he watches us. He'll check in from time to time. But whenever he writes about the Padres, I say this as a friend who's known him for decades, I usually take it with a big grain of salt because I know he's looking at it from the outside,
right,
from the most broad perspective possible. And also, Joe's a little bit of a stubborn writer. What he says at the beginning of the year, he will try to hew to all year long, even if the facts are changing along the way. So at the beginning of the year, he wrote about the Padres, 2 important things: that this Juan Soto trade was a gigantic mistake because you gave away the best player in the deal, and so it was therefore going to hurt the Padres. So he said they would not make the playoffs. And secondly, that he thought the single biggest managerial downgrade of the year was Bob Melvin to Mike Schilt. That's what he thought. He thought that Melvin was one of the best managers in the league and that Schilt in St. Louis was one of the worst managers in the league. And so in his mind, with those 2 things, the Padres were going to be a failed case this year. He picked them to finish a game out of the playoffs behind Arizona, but he picked them to do so by winning like 82 or 83 games. Okay, so I'm using that all as context because for a month he's been threatening to write about the Padres. And as he started to threaten to write about it, I would send him a couple of notes, you should know, for example, that the team is number 1 in the league in contact rate and, as the fewest strikeouts and is also top 3 in creating strikeouts. And you should know about the change in the culture and you should know about how the roster has changed. And yesterday he wrote a column titled "The Padres Are So Extra," in which he essentially acknowledged and hand-waved every single thing that I wrote. So here, and then we'll get into the numbers, but here's what he wrote. He said, through the first 9 innings of baseball, the 2023 and 2024 Padres are the same team, the very same team. If anything, the 2023 team is more impressive because it outscored its opponents by a lot more runs. We can talk about contact rate, chemistry, execution, roster turnover, a managerial change, a deeper bullpen, the new brand of popcorn they're selling at Petco, which is put in to diminish all the things in front of it, as if all those things would be presented equally. But all of it runs into the same wall. The Padres, through 9 innings, are getting the exact same results they did in 2023. The only difference between the 2 teams is that one went off in what he calls extra innings, Calvin ball, and the other very much didn't. 14 games one year, 9 the next, 20 extra innings one year, 10 the next. And he's not wrong.
I mean, there's a lot of numbers in this thing. There's a lot of numbers, and his numbers bear out. His numbers aren't wrong. Like you said before, it's a reductive argument that essentially, well, you make the argument. You know the numbers a lot better than me, but I think what's interesting about this argument is I do think that there's players in the clubhouse that would probably be like, well, yeah, maybe. I mean, because players have played enough baseball and have been on enough teams that have been like quote unquote special and then have like for whatever reason not gone their way, or teams that have won the World Series, by the way, in that clubhouse, who have not been on as special teams, but they've still won the World Series. It is very, when you play as long as these guys have, there's so much weirdness that happens within a season. I know it's the common norm to say last year bad, this year good, or really try to, but it's really not like that for players. It really isn't. And I don't think that's always a fair way to take either. But it's essentially saying that extra innings are the only difference, right, Craig?
Yeah. So here's the numbers to back up the point. In 2023, the Padres in 9-inning results were 80-68. That's a .537 win percentage. And their run differential in those games was an impressive plus 120. Mm-hmm. Through 9-inning results in 2024, the Padres are 74-64. So remember, last year, 80-68. That's 12 games over 500. Mm-hmm. This year, 74-64, 10 games over 500. .534 win percentage, .537, .534. Run differential 61 instead of 120. If I'm from the outside, New York writer, nationally reducing, and you give me that, then sure, you can say, yeah, they're the same team. One team was 12 over, one team was 10 over. The other team was better because they scored more runs. Very simple. Takes out all of the details, takes out all of the context. Very simple. But what about extra innings? Well, last year, the Padres went to extra innings 14 times and they lost 12. You might remember they lost the first 12. Mm-hmm. They lost the first 12.
Crazy.
And they wound up minus 15 in extra innings. This year, the Padres have gone to extra innings 9 times, and they have won 8 out of the 9. They have won 8 out of the 9.
And what's funny about that is, and I'm not saying it's wrong, will be that argument, well, why are they winning those extra inning games? Well, they're grittier and they're built to win and they've got this mindset. I guarantee you talk to players in that clubhouse, they will say that they're playing the exact same way they did this year that they did last year. They're putting the exact same kind of effort forth. There might be a few changes in terms of maybe feeling togetherness and feeling like you're playing for each other. And those are things that could totally factor in. I'm not saying that you can dismiss them exactly, but they're certainly not thinking in their head, man, I just didn't try in extra innings last year. Like they tried.
They tried. Now, I would make a more nuanced argument specific to extra innings. I would state that this team is more built for success in extra innings because the goal in extra innings is to take the bonus runner that you have been gifted at second base and get him around third base to touch home plate, right? That's job one in extra innings now, is get that bonus runner home. And a team that leads the league in contact percentage, a team that uses the middle of the field relentlessly, a team that shoots the ball the other way is way more likely to get that. Oh, and a team that has preached a team-first situational baseball ethos since February 15th when they gathered as a unit for the first time, that team is better equipped to handle the task of getting a runner second to home than last year's team, which was built on walks, fly balls, and strikeouts. And we saw so many times last year that bonus runner there at second base, first guy hits a fly ball, second guy strikes out, third guy hits a line drive to the outfield that's caught, and we didn't score the runner.
And that is, I agree with that. And that is where you have to look at the roster. The roster, although last year you could argue, and he does in here, in this newsletter, that, and I think we can all say that last year's on paper, it is a more talented roster. There are even more superstars. There's even more potentially, MVP type players and whatnot. But this roster works for the approach that they have, the mentality that they have, and this is where I think Joe did get it right here, is he said that although he says A.J. Preller has not built his most impressive team to date, which is what Ken Rosenthal said, and which I agree with. Like, look, impressive doesn't mean the most talented. It means impressive. But he has won a bunch of decisions on the margins, and that are the Jerks and Profars, the Kyle Higashiokas, the David Peraltas, the Donovan Solanos, the bullpen additions he made. And honestly, if you put some truth serum into those coaches and the front office, they did not know probably they're going to hit on every single one of those, but that's baseball.
Right.
They got a little luck on their side with that this year in selecting some of those correct players and also fixing their mistakes a little bit with the bullpen where they need to. A little course correction there that they were able to get those players at the deadline. So I think it is a little reductive to not, I guess, bring that in to the argument, because that does kind of go with what you're saying. The roster allows for that approach and that offensive abilities that they have.
Well, here's just a little bit more. Again, we what and this is, listen, I'm presenting this in part to this San Diego audience with intention, because sometimes you need some of this to jar up your own myopia. We all have an element of myopia. We're all so close to everything that we're going to see everything as magical. We're going to see everything as special, right? And sometimes it takes someone from the outside going, this is not special, it's very similar, for you to go, oh, well, hang on, let me look at it again.
Well, and you could have this exact same team play next year and everything the same and not have necessarily the results that they had this year. Just like you could have last year's team play again this year and probably win some of those extra inning, have better extra inning numbers for no other reason than just able to get some more wins across in extra innings, for whatever reason, So, and that's kind of what players will tell you too. It's Manny says it all the time, and he says it a little tongue in cheek. There's so much luck, but you still have to be able to work hard and put yourself in good opportunity for the luck.
Here's a little bit more of a backup. Yes, we're hitting for a higher average this year, but when you actually break it down, the Padres scored 4.6 runs per game last year, and they're scoring 4.6 runs per game this year.
I mean,
the same. They're scoring at the same rate this year. Now, he makes the point, this year is actually a tougher run-scoring environment than last year.
Oh,
So by WRC+, plus, that's one way you can see that. Last year's team WRC plus was 106. This year it's 111. So it is better. But also, the Padres pitching staff has been worse this year than last year along the very same metrics. They've allowed more runs this year in a lower run-scoring environment. So the 9 innings offense for the team is 4.6 runs per game, exactly the same. In extra innings, we've scored 18 runs in 10 innings this year. Last year, we scored 12 runs in 20 innings. And there it is. Yeah. It's wild, but it is true that all of the many changes, personnel, manager, culture, approach, hitting coach, all of it, all of those things have changed in San Diego. The production remained the same, but one thing is where it's crystallized into success, which is this one most random part of baseball, which brings me to the third Joe Sheehan well-established bias that I know that needs to be presented. He hates the extra inning rule. He thinks it's the dumbest rule.
The Ghost Runner, the guy on
Yes.
second? Okay.
He thinks it's just the dumbest change that's ever happened to baseball because it's fake. That's why he calls it Calvin ball. It's like, you didn't earn that runner.
Well, his argument seems a little biased then now. It's like he hates the Padres because
He doesn't hate
he doesn't hate the Padres.
He doesn't hate
Yeah.
the Padres,
He doesn't
but I
hate the
mean,
Padres.
he was predetermined to say that this team was going to be worse than last
But
year.
he said
last year's team.
he said at the bottom, he says at the bottom, this is not my words, this is Joe Sheehan. There is no such thing as extra innings skill. And the 2023-24 Padres are the latest and perhaps best example of that. One thing, I honestly don't mind this thing because I have the same reason that you mentioned. I think it's kind of good sometimes to see other people's perspectives on it and to take a look at the fact that sometimes there are a lot of narratives for something that sometimes I do believe players will be like, that's baseball. I've done this enough times where it's like, not me, I'm speaking as a player, where the ball falls your way in certain situations for no other reason than just the sheer way the season is going. But the more you dig into this piece that he's writing, the roster does play a role in it. Luis Ariz does play a role in it. The guys on the fringes do play a role in it. And then the offensive approach, like you see how behind the stats, there's a little bit of that he's kind of hinting to works for them. So I don't know exactly that is supporting his argument, but what I'm saying is like it kind of, I don't know. It's probably not as magical as we all make it, and it's probably not as reductive as he makes it. It's probably somewhere in between.
Absolutely. No, that's it. That's it. Absolutely. We can make a similarly reductive argument on our side that can be equally statistically true and holistically false. And I find this argument to be statistically true and holistically not complete. It's not false. It's not a lie. I mean, it's the absolute truth. We've gone 8-1 in extra innings, and we went 2-12 last year, and that's a difference between +7 and -10. And realistically, if you took last year's extra innings results and you just kicked it from 2-10 to 6-6, the Padres make the playoffs. They make the playoffs easily. The Diamondbacks do not make the playoffs. The Padres do. If they just kick 4 extra innings results over and go 500 in those results. And that's what you would expect generally over time in extra innings, is that you'd go 500. That the bonus base runner would come in sometimes, it wouldn't sometimes, and you'd usually go 500. But this year we've gone 7 over. And last year we went 10 under.
Yeah.
And hey, it's not a lie to say that's why they're in it instead of out of it this year.
Yeah, and I think again, you have to think of a clubhouse like a petri dish of society, right? You have 25, 26 different opinions. They're all going to be different. You will have people in that clubhouse who say, we had a few more me guys than we guys, right? You also have people in the clubhouse that say, won a World Series with a team not as talented or as cohesive as this clubhouse, right? So there's just different ways to look at it, and they're not necessarily right or wrong. His stats are factually correct, but it does feel like, and I'm not saying he does this because I know he probably does his research, but our eye test tells us this is a better team, right? This is a team that has a better identity, that kind of knows what they're about, that does more things like the ground ball RBI, the sac fly, the bunts, whatever it takes to get the run across, as well as being able to have power and hit the home run ball when they need to, is the team that, once healthy, their starting rotation has really carried them. But the numbers, like you said, not as good as last year with the starting rotation.
Yeah, and for example, I see Brian in the chat kind of like going after Joe. I saw someone else, this guy is an idiot, or et cetera, et cetera. And my reply to that would be, you've got a socket wrench for something, you've got an Allen wrench for something else. You have different tools for different tasks, and a guy like Joe is useful for many tasks. But I would never look at him for the most detailed analysis of the San Diego Padres. Right. I would keep that here in town. I think I know. I'm sorry, Joe. I think I know a lot more about the Padres than Joe does. Right. From a standpoint of why things are different this year.
Watching games day in and day out, and understanding who these guys are. And yes, exactly. Yeah.
But those are also localized biases that we interact with ourselves, that we create ourselves through watching every game, through being in the clubhouse, through reading every single thing written about the team. Like, all of those narratives wind up being internalized in ourselves. So being presented with something that's very exterior and very cold and very, analytical, to me is actually, I'm not going to say refreshing, but I think it's useful to say, well, I'm not throwing it out. I recognize the biases, but what you can pluck out of that is to recognize that luck is as big a part of success in almost every walk of life as anything, and that the Padres have benefited from positive luck this year, which, by the way, we all said all last year would probably happen, right? As we watched them go through this ridiculous, they were so bad in one-run games, so bad in extra inning games, and we said, watch, next year they'll just do better than that, and they'll wind up having a better year because they're better than that, and they have been.
I mean, here's one for you, and I can't look it up as fast as probably Craig or Braden can. Sorry, guys. But the Giants have the most walk-offs this year. They have the most walk-offs. If everyone just wants to blame Bob Melvin for last year, Now, the Giants don't have as good of a record,
Right.
but if you just want to say, well, that team couldn't walk it off, that team didn't have the grit, that team didn't whatever, because Bob Melvin, well, the Giants have more walk-offs than the Padres have this year.
Yeah.
So it's like it doesn't, again, I think it's probably a little reductive what Joe has written in this thing that we're reading, this piece that we're reading, but it's also kind of reductive to say it's all the fault of this or it's all the fault of that or 2023 was this and 2024 is that. I don't think players say that. In fact, I know that they don't say that.
Yeah. So interesting perspective. That's why it's in the deep dive hour for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's take a timeout. We're late for a timeout. Actually, we're super late for a timeout. So we'll come back and talk about the Giants from the perspective of what's happening as another team abandons their market, as they're left alone in their market. Is it going to be a windfall for San Francisco? Plus, is this even going to happen? Scott Boras had some very interesting things to say this week. You'll hear him next. Annie and Elsten on The Fan. Hey, an important reminder from the California Department of Transportation. Eastbound I-8 is going to be closed from Jackson Drive to Route 67 starting at 9 o'clock tonight and going through 5 a.m. on Monday. Follow the detour signs on Route 125 if you're in the area, and give yourself more time to reach your destination. So being that I live right in this area, I can tell you that Jackson is right where the 125 North on-ramp is.
Okay.
There's the Jackson Avenue Drive and the 125 on-ramp north. So if they're using detours on Route 125, what they're going to do is if you need to go east, they're going to take you up the 125 to the 52 East. 52 East gets to the 67, down the 67. That's where the detour is over.
But what if I want to go somewhere in between Jackson and, like, what if I want to go to, like, Parkway Plaza?
You're going to have to get off
east.
on Fletcher and
Okay.
Surface Street it. Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to go to Parkway Plaza, get off on Fletcher and take Fletcher all the way down, and you'll get to Parkway Plaza.
I haven't been to Parkway Plaza in a while, but every time I do go back there, it's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a blast from the past to walk through good old Parkway Plaza. So you know what? I might go this weekend just because there's a detour and I want to
R.I.P. Bob's Big Boy.
experience it. Yeah.
Patton Oscars. Remember
Oh,
that?
yeah. I don't
When
even know
I
if-
first
don't
came
even
to
know if
San Diego,
Orange
that was
Julius
the
is still there.
thing. That was the
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Pat
was
Oscar's even
Oscars.
around anymore. I played with their grandson.
We used to
We went
walk
to
around
Cathedral.
Parkway Plaza all the time
Yes.
with like friends and the movie. I think the movie theater's still there, but there's a lot of like random stores there now.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
There's, of course, a hot topic because there's always a hot topic.
Very East County.
On the border out there.
Yes, there isn't on the border out there. You're absolutely
Hey,
right.
man, I'm savvy of the East County.
Across the street from the Long John Silver.
So, well, there's a Home Goods over there, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of in the parking lot. But now there's a lot of furniture stores
Yes.
in Parkway Plaza, sort of like that took over the department stores.
It's a different world.
It's a different world. There's not even a coffee place in there. There's not even like a Starbucks or like a coffee place. I don't know.
R.I.P. Family Fun Center,
Yeah.
which is down the road on the
Oh,
67.
Yeah, that's
Family
now a
Fun
used
Center.
car lot.
Because it was a Family Fun
Yeah.
Center, and then it was a Boomers. I used to go there with my grandmother all the time. It was fun.
Yep.
Fun stuff. No longer.
Our youth. It's gone.
Sad.
Especially there in East County. I mean,
Yeah.
not a lot of fun. Like they had like the mini golf and
Yeah,
stuff.
they had the 3 mini golf courses.
Yeah.
They had the batting cage. I'm sure they had like the boats,
Bumper cars, the
bumper
boats.
cars. Yeah, they had the arcades
Dang it.
obviously on the inside. I used to go there all the time when I would stay with my grandparents in Lakeside. They would take me there.
Young people will never understand what an arcade truly meant. They will not know. They do not know,
Because
and
now
they'll
you
never
can
know.
like play an arcade on
It's
your
just
phone.
on the,
yeah.
it's on your
Yeah.
TV, it's on your phone.
You can buy ones off of the home shopping networks to have at your
Winning
house.
the stupid prices that didn't make any sense.
I had a very boomery thought just this week about the fact that my parents, we've talked about that, my parents took trips. You know, we had an RV, we
Yeah.
took summer trips every single year. So that meant, day after day, hour after hour being in the RV. And what did I do? I read.
Oh yeah.
That's what I did. I read books all the time. I read comic books. I read regular books.
Right.
I just read voraciously. People always go, "Oh, well, you've got this gigantic vocabulary, or you're Mr. Big Words." Well, it's because all the time when I was a kid, I was reading. I was
the
doing
same
it
way. Yeah.
all the time, every summer. And I really did think to myself the other day, if I had a screen when I was that age that was showing me television shows or playing video games, I would never have read any of those books. I wouldn't have done it because I would have had the screen there to keep me entertained. And it's making me think about how illiterate these generations and future generations are going to be, because just the even concept of doing that is gone now. Like, hey, oh, you're bored? Go read a book. It used to be a thing that parents actually said to kids. Oh, you say you're bored? Go read a book.
Go read a book.
Oh yeah, we'd go on road trips and go to the library beforehand and just have a car full of books. And same here. And now it's just so you even as an adult, it's just easier to pick up the phone and scroll than it is to read something. And so I'm sure for that generation, the younger generation, that's just kind of how they've grown up. And I admire. There's people out there that are like they have like a certain number of books they read in a year, or they read one book a month, or you have to really force yourself to read.
You do.
now. Yeah. And reading is amazing.
It's amazing.
there are kids out there. Reading is the best. Reading is better than a phone or a screen.
It is. I mean, it's that I don't even read fiction almost ever anymore. And I read a lot every day. I read a ton every day, but it's for work. You know, I'm reading baseball stories. I'm reading
Yes.
The Athletic. I'm
Right.
reading the newspaper. I'm, you know, but sitting down and actually read. I mean, I read City Primeval, which was a short fiction novel when they did the Justified remake of it. That's the last novel I read. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to find the time in the modern society when you've got your screens occupying you 9+ hours a day.
And all the studies now, right? I mean, and probably Braden knows this from all the coaching he does. All the studies now, I mean, that's what shows you that the attention span is very, very small. It's very little.
Trying to get them to stay focused is very difficult. Now I'm thinking about Pat and Oscar's breadsticks. The Wings and Things has a pretty good comp to that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like almost the same one now. So if
And-
you're craving that, you go to Wings and Things.
And I see Marshall Scotty's in here. Oh, did you guys ever go to Marshall Scotty's?
No.
Oh, that was like
I've heard of it, but I don't even
more
know what
towards
it is.
Alpine thing. And they actually would do a Halloween deal, but they had like water slides out there and stuff too.
There's still a Boomers in Vista, but that's kind of a...
I also had one
kinda
screw
run
up. I
down.
said that I thought of the Long John Silver's as still being there. I just re-entered it in my mind. It's gone.
They said the
But
on
Dave's
the
Hot Chicken is there. It's almost in the same spot.
Yeah.
they said on the border's now a Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, that's probably right.
I'd rather go to Texas Roadhouse anyway. No offense.
Fair.
It's on
Fair.
the border, but
Good question, Eric. Are audiobooks reading?
Hmm.
No.
you're not reading,
but-
you're listening.
Yeah.
Not a bad second. Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that better than watching a movie?
I
listening
like
to it.
I think audiobooks can be cool.
Yes, because you're
Use your
activating
mind.
your imagination. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing about reading is that you create things in your mind. You create those characters in your
Yeah.
mind. You create the different voices in your mind,
Yeah.
right? Like all of that, you are part of the story coming to life. You're helping it come to life with your own brain. That's part of the joy
Right.
of reading. This turns out to be your reading deep dive segment.
We feel like a PSA for reading.
Sponsored by your
Read-
local
go
library.
read a book. Yeah.
Reading good.
Libraries. I love libraries.
Oh,
I love libraries.
I
and
used to be there
bookstores.
all the time after school. I would go after school.
Oh,
Shout out to
Grand
your
Ole Barbecue.
librarians.
Grendel Barbecue is amazing out there.
That's on the thing. That's a great spot out there.
I used to play Dance Dance Revolution in those arcades.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Fun game, arcade game. Now I'm starving, so sick.
Let's take a break. We need to anyway, just to get the clock right. So when we come back, we'll update the pennant race as it looks. Nothing changed from yesterday to today,
Right.
so because no one played. So, but also the Sacramento situation is getting fascinating. I want to chat a little bit about it when we continue. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 11:45. Welcome back. It's Annie and Elsten here with you till 2. Gwen and Chris, 2 to 6:10. I got to go long. Scraby, settle in.
Now, they had Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football
did.
this week.
They did.
So
they should be chilling.
my guess is they'll go those extra 10. That'll be Scraby alone, right?
No, I'm sure
no,
Chris
okay.
will stick around.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
it would be funny, though, if Chris did. He's like,
Bye.
peace out, man. Post 6 is your problem. And then you just said Scraby going, well, this is just great for 10 minutes. It could happen. It could happen. We'll find out. So, obviously, no Padres news yesterday. Team was off. Hopefully, the off day treats them well. In San Francisco, they came out with a real strong showing that first game in Seattle. And they need to come out with a strong showing tonight against Logan Webb. Next two starters won't be as onerous. They'll probably face Harrison again if they stay on turn. Maybe one of their rookie right-handers. In the third game, Padres are going to throw Musgrove and Martin Perez as the weekend continues forward here. And once again, just repeating in kind of the Race for October update, if you missed this earlier, this is the best opportunity window. There's 5 windows of series remaining, right? All the contenders are going to play exactly 5 series. They're going to play them at the same time for the next 2 weekends, or 2 weeks plus 3 days, 15 days. So this is the most advantageous one for San Diego remaining because they take on San Francisco while the Diamondbacks take on first place Milwaukee. The Mets are at first place Philadelphia, and Atlanta hosts first place LA. So all 3 of the top teams in the NL are lined up against the 3 teams the Padres want to lose this weekend.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for them. I mean, if you can give yourself a little space between those other teams and not have it be, like we talked about earlier, too stressful or as stressful, maybe going into the final week of the season. I mean, it's just this week and next week. So this weekend leads into a big week for the Padres against the Astros and the White Sox, and then an even possibly bigger week against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Although the argument could be made if you can get enough separation, that last week isn't going to feel as brutal as it might be otherwise.
Yeah, just imagine the world where Arizona drops 2 out of 3 this weekend to Milwaukee and the Padres sweep the Giants. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you're a game and a half ahead going into next week for that home series. Then you look ahead for Arizona. And after they play the Rockies in Coors next week, which, listen, Arizona might score 18 runs per game. We get it. But teams lose at Coors. It happens. Yeah. It's happened all the time. The Mets went to Coors and lost. Now, plenty of teams go to Coors and lose. The Phillies have gone to Coors and lost. The Dodgers have gone to Coors and lost. Then they go to Milwaukee next weekend while you take on the lousy White Sox. So just, again, play this out with me here. If you sweep this weekend, they lose 2 out of 3. Now you're a game and a half up. Now let's say you both do the same. You take 2 out of 3. You take 2 out of 3 from Houston. They take 2 out of 3 in Colorado. Great. Mm-hmm. You're still a game and a half up on those guys going into a situation where they play Milwaukee in Milwaukee 4 times and you host the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely possible it goes that way. If the Padres sweep the Giants this weekend, they're putting themselves in an excellent spot. No matter what else happens,
yes,
they're just doing what they need to do and giving themselves a little bit of a buffer. But to have those other teams lose along with you, if you're winning, and create that separation, I feel like, and this is just my opinion. Obviously, it's my opinion. I don't have any clue as to what teams are going to win and lose. But the Braves, and I say this, with some hesitation because the Phillies facing the Mets, I think those are going to be really hard games no matter who wins, like at least if the Mets keep playing the way they have been. So you would think that those are going to be pretty competitive. But the Braves might get themselves out of it against the Dodgers this weekend. The Braves might fall off, and all that's left to decide here is the Mets, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks, what order seeding they're going to have.
And that absolutely could be the case. And for the Padres, you have the sub-goal of getting that home playoff series in the first round. And I'm telling you, it's why I keep saying this is the most important weekend, is because if you set yourself up this weekend, you have a chance next weekend to be in an even better situation playing Chicago while they're at Milwaukee, where you could it's not unrealistic to be 2.5, 3.5 games ahead of Arizona going into the last week. And then all of a sudden, you're just at a spot where you only have to win 1 or 2 games, and you've locked in 4. Now you could throw Waldron in Arizona and follow him up with Perez and wrap it up with Randy Vasquez and have all of your guys lined up, locked, loaded for the first round of the playoffs. That's the dream. Short of that, there will be complications. There will be starters you want to start in the playoffs that you have to start the last weekend of the season. You'll have relievers that you want to rest that you might have to instead turn around and pitch 4 out of 5 days in the last week in order to get where you need to go. So, again, this is the manageable par 3 that's right in front of you. The Giants aren't great. Go up there and take care of them. You haven't done it all year. You're 4-6 against them. So this is the time to show who you are, take care of business, and when you take care of business, you'll see what a great position you're in.
Yeah, I mean, what a thing to look at yesterday with really the Giants and the Rockies being the trouble spot for the Padres this year in the division at least. So like Craig said, the Giants lead the season series 6-4. The Giants are 41-34 at home, so a little better at home than they are on the road. But again, the Padres are the better team here, and the Padres are the team with something that they're playing for. I don't think the Giants are going to lie down. I think that the Padres are going to, hopefully just continue playing that the way they have been coming out of the All-Star break for the most part and assert their will. And it's going to be a tough, could be tough sledding for the Giants if it goes that way.
Real quick here, just an update on everything that's been going on with the A's. 2 interesting stories. If you happen to be an Athletic subscriber, I'll just say go check them out and read them because they're interconnected. The first is that a Sacramento radio station actually reported this week that there was a potential fallout of the deal to move the A's to Sutter Health Park in Sacramento. Most specifically, that the MLB Players Association has not signed off on the changes that are being made to Sutter Health Park. One of those changes is replacing natural grass with artificial turf. The reason that they're doing that is because the AAA Giants affiliate is not leaving Sutter Health Park. They will be co-tenants with the Athletics, the formerly Oakland Athletics. So there's basically going to be a game there every day for 6 straight months from the spring to the summer. So they figured it'll become a grass field to just be a dirt field by the end of the year. They're just going to wear it out.
Wait, this is the River Stadium? This is the Sacramento Stadium?
Yes.
They're going to put turf there?
Yes.
It's going to be hot as...
Yes. That's the first thing I thought
That's
of.
the story.
It's already 115 degrees there. Now you add turf. Players,
That's the story.
I'm telling you, this has become a player safety issue.
Yes.
This is not... I'm not even joking. I'm not even over-exaggerating.
No, they're like the NFL. They don't really care about player safety.
Well, that's what Scott Boras talked about. He went on Sacramento radio station KFBK, and he said, this is the big mistake. He said, quote, the health and safety concern of having AstroTurf at the major league level, which creates heat in the valley that's often in the 100s during the summer. Think about the impact it will have on the players, their performance, and their safety while playing there. And I couldn't agree more.
AstroTurf already hurts you. It can be tough on your knees. It can be tough on your joints. There's a lot of players that don't like, even when they go play a 3-game series, you'll see players sit because it's turf. You'll see all kinds of things happen because it's turf. To have turf plus the heat and then a full season of that for those players, not to mention the people that are visiting through, ooh, it shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the field heat, if it's 107 outside, it's going to be 125 on the turf because the turf reflects and absorbs the heat.
Remember, it was the turf when Joe burned the bottom of his feet. That was in Mexico City.
City.
Because it's a little deceiving, but it completely heats up from the bottom, and it just lends to also just more heat down there with them.
Yeah, I'm just reading this. Commissioner Rob Manfred said in July, the field will have a cooling element via hydration. What you're just going to soak it?
Maybe they'll all have misters on the
It'll
field.
just be a slip and slide. They're just going to have the entire thing filled with cold water.
No, you know how you put on the helmet when you drink the beer and it has misters inside the helmet? Maybe they just have maybe they have the straws into their mouth like the beers.
I can hear Manfred saying, we have a cooling element via hydration.
Electrolytes.
12 o'clock Sports Fix is next. It's 12 o'clock. It's a Friday. The work week is almost over. So go ahead, check out, bow out, say you're going for a long lunch and never return. It's totally fine. Your boss will love you again on Monday morning. And stay with us, Sandy and Elsten, for the rest of the afternoon.
Don't blame us if your boss is mad.
No, I mean...
You can be like George
no.
Costanza and just
I mean,
go back to the job that you got fired from or quit.
You don't have to listen to me. It's only being presented as one of many possible
This is an
options
option. That's
for
right.
your day.
It's Friday the 13th. Do you really want to be inside a building? No. You want to get out, enjoy the sunshine.
Annie cannot wait to do spooky things.
Right. You want to welcome the fall.
We want you to tune in, turn on, drop out right now, okay? You're tuned in to us. You're turned on to the 12 o'clock sports fix. Drop out of your work situation. Let's give you all the sports news for the weekend, and here we go. Here we go with all the sports news you need to head into the weekend. It is your 12 o'clock sports fix for Friday the 13th in September 2024. And he starts things off with the latest in Big League Baseball.
All right, we'll head over to Boston, where it seems Liam Hendriks' debut with the Red Sox will wait until 2025. Manager Alex Cora said before yesterday's loss in the Bronx that the Sox are probably going to shut him down from throwing. They pulled the veteran reliever off his minor league rehab assignment last week when Hendriks reported arm discomfort. The three-time All-Star has been working back from an August 2023 Tommy John surgery that ended his time with the White Sox. The Brewers reinstated reliever Enoli Paredes from the 60-day injured list. He joins the bullpen for tonight's game in San Francisco. That's not right.
Yesterday.
Thank you. He joined the bullpen for yesterday's game in San Francisco. Braden, yep. Paredes has been down since early July on account of forearm inflammation. And best wishes to him. Okay, speaking of the Brewers.
Hope it works out for you, buddy.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Okay, and so long.
Speaking of the Brewers, rookie Jackson Chourio made history yesterday when he became the first major leaguer to secure a 20-homer, 20-stolen-base season before his 21st birthday. Corey Seager will undergo season-ending sports hernia surgery. Yep,
Sounds bad.
Yep. I just pause because it does sound bad. Sports hernia surgery, according to Rangers GM Chris Young. The five-time All-Star was placed on the 10-day injured list last week with what the team initially announced as hip discomfort. The Dodgers signed left-hander Zach Logue to a minor league contract. He elected free agency a week ago after being waived by the Braves. The 28-year-old had spent nearly the entire season with Atlanta's Triple-A team. The Guardians announced Thursday that right-hander Alex Cobb has been placed on the 15-day injured list due to blisters on his pitching hand. Oops. Yes, right-hander Andrew Walters has had his contract selected from AAA Columbus in his place. It's the second time since Cobb was acquired at the trade deadline that he's landed on the 15-day IL due to what they call a minor injury on his pitching hand. The Padres will face the Giants. The Brewers will not. The Padres will face the Giants in San Francisco for a 3-game set starting tonight. It'll be Dylan Cease for San Diego, Logan Webb for San Francisco. The Giants lead the season series against the Padres 6-4. They are 41-34 at home. First pitch, a very late 7:15 p.m. at Oracle Park. Why is it at 7:15?
Not
is that just what
approved by
happens
me.
in San Francisco?
Yeah, busy, tough commute.
Yeah.
Start late, get them all in. Seagulls are psyched.
Seagulls will be already circling,
They'll be ready to go.
ready to get their garlic fries.
Dun-dun.
Here's Braden ready to go with all of the baseball schedule, plus a very light scoreboard yesterday.
A very light scoreboard yesterday. 8 games. None of them really mattered to the Padres, except for the Brewers beating the Giants 3-0. If that game matters. That's kind of a fringe matter game
just
for
the
them.
Brewers makes them
beat
sad.
The Giants? Okay.
Yeah, just get them
Kind
a
of
little sad going into the day.
Giants haven't had a day off like the Padres have had. So,
Well, good. Hopefully
yeah.
it bites them in the ass.
Maybe a little tired.
In the American League, it was the Rays of the Guardians 5-2. Yankees double up the Red Sox 2-1 in extra innings. Rangers outlast the Mariners 5-4. Astros over the Athletics 6-3 down in Houston. And in interleague plays, the Rockies of the Tigers 4-2 yesterday. National League games, Cardinals beat the Reds 6-1, and the Marlins beat the Nationals 6-3. Only 8 games yesterday in Major League Baseball. In terms of series this weekend, got a lot of good ones, especially the National League. Padres will play 3 in San Francisco. The Mets are in Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. Other National League matchups that matter, a wraparound series between the Dodgers and the Braves. They'll start a 4-game series this weekend. Other National League series that matter, the Brewers are at the Arizona Diamondbacks. All the other games, who cares?
There you go.
Here's Craig.
One day, my more fulsome reports, they're just around the winter. So I'm actually enjoying this. This is my late summer of, I have like 4 things. You guys have 50.
We've had all our breaks.
We all have. It's so true.
Right.
San Diego Wave FC has 7 matches remaining in their season. They are in 12th place, 7 points out of a playoff spot. 7 points back, 7 matches remaining. Obviously a daunting task. Means they must win tomorrow night. Saturday night, they play one of the only teams below them in the standings. They will take on the 13th place Utah Royals. The match kicks from SLC Saturday at 7 p.m. on the Ion Network. In MLS action, Messi's back. Back again. Messi's back. Tell a friend. Inter Miami plays Philadelphia tomorrow, and head coach Tata Martino says, yes, Lionel Messi will be back from an ankle injury, which has sidelined him for 3.5 months. He is likely to be subbed into the action, but is available for selection tomorrow night. The Solheim Cup is underway. This is the distaff version of the Ryder Cup, the United States against Europe, LPGA-sponsored event. It is taking place in Washington, D.C., and today is 4-ball. So there are 4 2-on-2 matchups that are taking place right now through between 8 and 11 holes. They're all out there bunched up together. Right now, the U.S. leads in 3 matches. Europe leads in 1 match. Convincingly ahead is Nelly Korda and Megan Zhang. They are 5 up on their European competitors. The other U.S. one's 1 up. The other one just went tied, so now it's 2-1-1. We'll keep you up to date and let you know what happens on Monday because we have no show tomorrow or Saturday. For the second time this week, it's Caitlin Clark against Asia Wilson tonight. This time it'll be in Indiana at the Gamebridge Fieldhouse, where the Fever host the Aces and Wilson, who set the single-season WNBA points record in their last meeting. And lastly, as a weekend preview helper, if you are a fan of the powerboat action, this is your weekend to be out on East Mission Bay for unlimited hydroplanes and, in fact, the American Powerboat Association Gold Cup, which is a competition that dates all the way back to 1904. It's the 5th time San Diego has hosted the Gold Cup. 56th time unlimited hydroplane racing is out on Mission Bay. I have been out to this before in my lifetime, and it is certainly an enjoyable pursuit to watch the big old boats plow across Mission Bay.
Yes. It's a very San Diego thing. It's pretty to be out there for sure and see it going on.
Testing is underway and just got started last hour, and they'll be racing throughout the weekend. So head on out to Mission Bay. 3-day super passes available for $60 if you want to see the powerboat racing here in San Diego this weekend. And by the way, when you hear the sports term, oh, that was a boat race, you'll understand why if you go out and watch the powerboats.
That was in the athletic slang. What is boat race again?
It's a no contest. It's a contest that's no contest.
That's it. Yes.
Because quite often one of the boats is just much faster than the other. And so it's and then
I loved and Tyler Kepner does a great job. It used to be with the New York Times, but of course they got acquired by the Athletic, and so he had boat race was in there. Bang, we talked about that, right?
Yep.
They got eyewash, 4A. 4A. So,
quad A is how I call it. It's
yeah,
quad A, yeah.
Better than most players in AAA, but not good enough to stick in the majors.
Yeah.
But I like what Tyler did because he provided like real world examples. Like someone might be using 4A in the real world. Like, make sure the Ford Bronco was in 4A when you're out on those wet roads today. Like, okay, fringy. So like he'll probably hit 300, but he's a first baseman with fringy average power, like, marginal. And then he had yours, guy. He's a guy.
Yeah, just a guy.
A dude.
Dude. Gotta be a dude.
Yep. Hang with him.
It's big hang with him.
That's a big hang with him. That's one of Mud's favorites.
Yes. Horse. So someone who's durable and reliable.
That's Logan Webb. He's
yes,
a horse.
Exactly.
Facing a horse tonight.
And then kitchen. So
yeah, get in
Get
your
out the
kitchen.
That's right. Yeah. And
Buzz the tower.
Buzz the tower. Exactly. And let it eat.
Yeah,
We're hoping Dylan Cease lets it eat tonight.
Yeah.
Let the big dogs eat.
He hopes it lets it eat and hope it's hungry. Here's Braden. He's got all your football
sorry,
preview.
Braden. I didn't realize we weren't done.
That's okay. We're not done. No, here's
we were
Braden.
done with sports picks.
Wow,
I was just going to keep going.
Well, boat race. We got to.
Yeah.
That's what I get for presenting the power
There's
boat
like 10
information.
more. Sorry.
All right. Well. Okay then, Annie.
Well, anyways.
I got to regather my thoughts here.
Time for the show with Braden.
That's right. All right. High school football continues with Week 4 action tonight. Some of the best games around the county. Mount Miguel will be at Bishops. All these games will be at 7 o'clock, except for one, and I'll mention that in a second. Mount Miguel's favored by 9, according to CalPreps. Madison at Helix at 7 o'clock. That's your East County game of the week, according to the KUSI PPR. Helix is expected to win that game by 4 points. La Jolla Country Day is at Scripps Ranch High School. That game will be at 7 o'clock. The undefeated Falcons hosting the La Jolla Country Day Tories. Scripps Ranch projected to win 21-19. Vikings of La Jolla at Rancho Bernardo. That's going to be a great football game. The 3-0 Vikings and the 3-0 Broncos could be setting up for a potential Division I playoff matchup. As we will see how everybody plays out in the divisions. Again, this year, no divisions to start the season. The divisions will be determined at the end of the year based on a power rating system. So everybody's trying to play their way into the top levels of the division. Vikings and Broncos should be a good one at Rancho Bernardo. Del Norte's at Carlsbad, a good tester for Del Norte. Carlsbad's projected to win 28-7 according to CalPreps. The 7th ranked team in the country, the J. Sarah Catholic, will be at the Lincoln Hornets at 7 o'clock. That game will actually be played at Southwestern College. Lincoln's getting a stadium overhaul that might take a couple of years to get done, so Lincoln's playing their home games elsewhere. It'll be at Southwestern College tonight at 7 o'clock. J. Sarah Catholic, number 7 in the country and like 6th in the state. Welcome to.
That's wild.
Welcome to California. Welcome to Southern California football. They're probably the 3rd best team, maybe 4th best team in their league.
Isn't that who Pauly played last weekend, Jay Sarah? Or was that a different Sarah?
That's Sarah Gardena.
Sarah Gardena, okay.
Jay Sarah's in the Trinity League. The Trinity League probably, I think they have 4 or 5 teams in their league in the top 15 in the country.
Seems good.
They're very good. They're very, very good. So that will be a tester for Lincoln. Jay Sarah's projected to win 35-14. Torrey Pines at San Marcos, a good matchup up in the North County. This is the only game that won't start at 7. It'll start at 7:15 at San Marcos. Very Giants-esque. The Avocado League likes to play. The North County Leagues like to play at 7:15 instead of 7.
Very bougie.
That's right. San Marcos is 3-0 in the year, trying to make it 4-0. Torrey Pines on a tough one last week against Escondido. San Marcos is projected to win 35-12. El Cap at Steel Canyon out in East County. Steel Canyon is projected to win by 17. Scratch the Cougar trying to go to 3-1 on the season out there in Hamul. San Diego Cavers are at the Mount Carmel Sun Devils. This is the good one in Division II potentially. Both teams are undefeated. Mount Carmel projected to win by 17 points. And to finish it off, Santa Fe Christian. Their offensive coordinator, Drew Brees, will make the trek out to East County to Granite Hills High School where they take on the Christian Patriots, who play their home games at Granite. That game will start at 7 o'clock. Santa Fe Christian expected to win 20-19. Should be a good one between the Santa Fe Christian Eagles and the Christian Patriots tonight.
Whenever you mention Scratch's name, he just appears.
He jumps
He's
into
already
the
in
thing.
the chat. Yeah.
Scratch, get excited. Rah-rah Cougars, Cougar Pride, get some.
All right.
All right, Scratch. Get ready for Ron Berner's El Cap Vaqueros. If they win, party will be at, I'm blanking on his restaurants now. He's got the Italian restaurant over there off of...
Not Felipe's?
No, it's...
I know what you're talking about.
It's over by Patrick Henry High School. It's off Mission Gorge. What is that? I'll think about it in a second.
What's his name again?
Ron Berner. He's been there for 20 years.
I bet
I'll remember it in a second.
Rosati's?
Nicolosis?
Nicolosis. Party at Nicolosi's at the Vaqueros beat the Cougars tonight.
Nicolosis, yeah.
College
Delicious.
football news. Did you see the truck that got onto Folsom Field in Colorado?
No.
A suspect.
I heard about it, though.
A suspect in a hit-and-run crash was arrested Thursday night after driving his truck onto the playing field at Colorado's Folsom Field.
Seems dangerous.
It's on the campus of Colorado Boulder. Police in Boulder said they received a call reporting multiple hit-and-run crashes involving the same blue pickup truck near Foothills Parkway and Arapahoe Avenue at about 1.5 miles away from the stadium. The driver of the truck struck several trees and a car as he fled and nearly struck a witness at the scene. Both Boulder police and University police tried to stop the driver before he rammed into a gate to Folsom Field, stopping the truck near the 40-yard line, along with the visitor's sideline. After negotiating with police, the driver got out. Negotiating with the police?
Well,
They had to negotiate with him? I mean, but the car's trapped on the field. What are they negotiating exactly? Driver got out of the truck and surrendered. Boulder police identified the suspect as Carl Hogland, 48, from Massachusetts. He will be booked in Boulder County Jail on several charges, including 3 counts of leaving a scene of a crash after damage, criminal attempted vehicular assault, reckless endangerment, driving without insurance, and trespassing.
And watching way too many Fast and Furious movies.
And thank God no one died.
Or got seriously injured.
Yes.
I know where I'll ditch him. Inside the football stadium.
Yeah.
They'll never follow me there.
It's a good thing Ralphie didn't run you over, dude. Is it surprising that a guy like that doesn't have insurance?
When
Anybody's
they caught him,
surprised?
did they play the fight song or did they
I think
play
they
Shador's
played
rap?
I think they played Shador's rap.
That one was for you, Braden.
It's so good. It's so good. Good thing for Colorado, they don't have to get ready for a home game. They're playing at Colorado State, in which Torrey Pines product, their quarterback, Colorado State's quarterback, Nicolosi, is his last name, said, well, let's see how well they do with their Instagram followers this week. So, bulletin board material. I'll have more on that in the college football report. We got some injury news in the National Football League. Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be without at least 3 starters Sunday at the Lions. Coach Todd Bowles on Friday ruled out defensive tackle and 2023 first-round draft pick Kajah Cansey, all-pro safety Antoine Winfield Jr. and right tackle Luke Godick, in addition to reserve cornerback Josh Hayes. A lot of missing pieces for the Buccaneers at Detroit, who the Bucs lost to twice last season. Bengals could be without one of their top receivers when facing back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Wide receiver T. Higgins is expected to be doubtful for Sunday's game at Kansas City, Coach Zach Taylor said on Friday. Higgins was not spotted during the portion of practice open to the media and did not practice on Wednesday and Thursday. He's dealing with a hamstring injury that he sustained last week that ended up being more severe than anticipated. Don't expect T. Higgins on Sunday. Chiefs wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown will undergo surgery for his sternoclavicular injury.
Oh, yeah, sternoclavicular injury.
Yeah, according to Andy Reid, saying Brown is set to miss months. Rick Burkhalter, the Chiefs' vice president of sports medicine and performance, told reporters that specialists determined it was too risky for Brown to play. Wide receiver is set to undergo surgery Monday in Colorado. So Marquise Hollywood Brown, if he's on your fantasy team, he's going to be out for a while. Second week in a row, Steelers are listing quarterback Russell Wilson's game status as questionable, making it likely Justin Fields will make his second start against the Denver Broncos. And that's a look at the NFL injury report to finish up our report. So, Annie, if you want to throw in anything else. I got one more thing, actually. I was supposed to say this a couple weeks ago. I was DM'd by a coach from Palomar College football about their new stadium. I said, email me the information. Never got the email. But I remembered that Palomar College unveiled a brand new football stadium. Looks great. It's the first time ever they get to play an actual home game.
Wow.
Nice.
They did that last Saturday. Palomar College football team played its first ever home game this past Saturday at a brand new stadium unveiled last week at the college's San Marcos campus for the Comets, whose football program began back in 1947. This moment has been decades in the making. Home games have traditionally been played at Escondido High School, and practices have taken place at the college's grass field. Construction of the 3,600-seat stadium began 2 years ago as one of the final projects funded by the $694 million Proposition M, passed by voters in 2006.
Well, the wheels of justice turn slowly.
That's right. The college held an opening ceremony for the stadium on Thursday of last week, building excitement for the team's home game at 5 o'clock Saturday against Moore Park College. They will play their next home game next week. So not this Saturday, but next Saturday. It is a beautiful facility. I've seen the pictures of it. They got a brand new video board, state-of-the-art turf, no track, so you're right on top of everything. Maybe I could share it here real quick. Show you a picture of the new Palomar College football field. Here's the website. There's kind of a picture of it. If you can see that, it's beautiful. Did a great job with Palomar College.
How
new
exciting.
football stadium.
That's great.
It's
Yeah,
great.
that
They got
is
double-decker
great.
press box. They got the video board. Hopefully they can host some CIF events there in the near future. But a brand new football stadium in Palomar for Palomar College for their football team. First ever football stadium for them to have. So congrats
Yeah.
to Palomar College for the brand new digs. Love it.
Charisma brought up a good memory.
I remember
in the chat.
that.
Someone drove onto Petco Park's field in 2021.
Sorry,
and
dude.
I just looked that up again. And yeah, remember the video that circulated with
Guys
the
doing
guy doing
donuts.
donuts? And it was a peaceful surrender. The cops came and he got out of his car, peacefully surrendered.
I wonder what that fine was. Probably expensive.
Evolution
What was the idea of that? Like, what was the
continues
thought
to this day.
process?
Survival of the fittest.
What could
Weeding out the weak.
possibly go wrong? Well, I don't know.
They'll never catch me here.
Yeah.
There'll be no video
In my
recording
confined
or-
space, and if they close that gate, it's not like I'm
I
trapped.
guess you got to hope for like no license plates, and you come in, you do a few donuts, and then you got to like beeline out. He just kept going around. I think
I'm
like
telling you. Too
Not-
many people have watched too many Fast and Furious movies.
Think they could get away with it without, I don't know, camera technology? I mean, think about how many cameras do you think are at Petco Park? Numerous.
oh yeah,
Many.
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 Thousands and millions and millions. I mean, there's so many cameras that are
More
probably
every
there.
year, I can
Cops
tell
are
you
getting a
that.
call from the MLB Network ballpark cam. Hey guys, just want to let you know.
Let's
we've
go
got
to the
this-
video
we've got this
replay,
fixed
guys.
Camera and it's showing this dude doing donuts out there.
Cameras.
We're assuming this is not part of the field work, correct? I mean, you're documented everywhere you go. I
Yeah.
mean,
You
you're not going
probably
to get
listen
away
to
with it unless
Seen all of it.
get all the
Yes.
they got all the people and all the residential buildings out there. They're probably just like, why is there a car doing donuts right now? I mean, it's not going to take a lot of effort to catch you, my guy.
When we come back, two stories that weren't in the fix, one of which is sad and one of which is weird. Very weird.
No, so not happy. We don't have any happy stories.
We've got sad and weird for
Okay.
this
Friday.
segment,
I mean,
but
That is, no, there you go. Friday
Yeah.
the 13th, I guess.
it
No,
is
I
a
thought you
Friday
should be
the
more
13th
happy.
segment.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll bring it to you right after this. Andy and Elsten on the Fan. Hey, fantasy football team owners, if you're in a PPR league or not, wideouts will make or break your fantasy team. That's why you need to listen to Reception Perception. Listen to new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. Reception Perception on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Okay. Danny and Elsten, couple of stories here. Starting with last night's Thursday night football game. Buffalo handled Miami. The next show we'll get into what that means for the Dolphins because we've got Mr. Porpoise himself, Chris Ello, coming in.
Did you just call him Mr. Porpoise?
I did. I called him Mr. Porpoise.
Mr. Dinger Porpoise.
Basically, Buffalo has drilled Miami like so many times in a row. And I forget how many times, like 7 or 8 times in a row. So it's a real bad look every time Miami plays Buffalo. But last night, Miami played Buffalo, and Tua Tagovailoa was not good. He was getting intercepted. He was having a very much struggling game. I did tune into this one in the third quarter when he started to move the team down the field at the point when it was, I believe, 31-10, 21-point game. Still, not impossible. Got the team down into the red zone, and then, and I want to say it was on a third down play, but I could be wrong. It doesn't really matter. Took off up the middle to get the first down yardage, and he had the yardage. And then Damar Hamlin, ironically, the Bills safety who had been out with a major neck injury in the past, came in to tackle him. And I think it's important to note that Tua lowered his head and put the crown of his helmet right into the middle of Damar Hamlin's shoulder pads.
Which is never a penalty for the offense, ever.
Right.
Like we talked about, was that last week, 2 weeks ago? It's never a penalty for the offense, which it should be if we're talking about player safety.
Of course.
Right.
But instead what it was Tua Tagovailoa concussing himself. And, I mean, it's rough for me to say that. Obviously, it's in the heat of action. But you would think somebody who had 3 concussions in a year that essentially put his career on life support, where the next one could be / will be career ending, wouldn't go into a tackle leading with his head. But that's what Tua did, and he took a concussion, and now, quite honestly, I think his NFL career, just like he would have thought, is in jeopardy now.
I think he needs to look at the big picture here. I mean, 3 concussions, not good, but you don't know how many concussions, how many head injuries he's had since playing in high school, right? I mean, the concussions, sometimes you don't even get diagnosed. You have these hits and it just kind of mounts over years and years of time. And then you have the really horrible ones that we've seen him have over the last year. That's no joke. I mean, you got to look now at not just football, but your life. What is your life going to look like if something else happens that is irreparable? That's not the right word. Unable to be repaired.
Right.
Okay.
Irreparable. That's good.
Yeah. And, Antonio Pierce, he was asked, he's the head coach of the Raiders, and he was asked about it, I guess, today, and I just saw him say that he'd tell him to retire, and I think that there's going to be a lot of discourse around this, and there continues to be around the NFL because, look, the NFL, when it comes to concussions and player safety, they don't really care. Like, they want to care a little, and they're going to care enough to make their fans think they're doing something, but the amount of care that these guys get when they leave the NFL is like negligible, right? So it's essentially, you have to know the risks when you play, and you have to look out for yourself as best you can because they're not going to look out for you. So he has to have some really difficult conversations.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially, and it goes back to the NFL players have the worst deal out of any professional athlete. Because even the guaranteed money that they have, and in Tua's situation, it's not even fully guaranteed if he retires. And they go through it on the website, on CBS Sports. They wrote an article about how everything plays out money-wise. And the thing is obviously it's player safe. And we're worried about Tua himself as a human more than his contract. But, it's hard to just walk away from all the money that he just put together. And so what happens, just to kind of summarize what his guaranteed money is like, if he is medically retired, as in the NFL says he cannot play because of health, then he could get the guaranteed money. But if he clears concussion protocol,
Right.
which more likely than not he will, according to a lot of reports, then if he walks away from all of that money and his signing bonus. That's not guaranteed anymore.
And
which,
if he retires, he walks away from all of it as well,
And
right?
his
Yeah, right. So
livelihood
it's-
and his
he's
self-worth
leaving-
and everything else.
And any kind of medical care, any of it,
right.
right?
$167.2 million goes away. I mean, that's
He might
that's
say
a
to himself,
difficult decision
yeah.
for anybody that
I
works
play
a
as long as I
dangerous
can.
job that might not be able to do it anymore, even if it's not just football, to be like, well, that's how can I leave? Can I, then all of a sudden you start thinking about trying to tough it through, for the sake of the future of your family and all this other stuff. I mean, that's the biggest problem with the NFL is just they don't take care of their players like the other leagues do with either guaranteed contracts or guaranteed medical or guaranteed this, guaranteed that. If you want to have a carnage sport,
pension, any of that.
you have
yeah.
to take care of your players. And instead of doing that, they change rules to try to pretend like they're taking care of their players instead of addressing the major problem, right? And the major problem is give these guys medical for life and their families. I mean, just like, other corporations would do for high-level carnage, low lifespan opportunities. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, he obviously it comes to a certain point with especially players' concussions. It's how many more do you want to sustain in the grand scheme of things, and that's for any level.
Yeah.
And I think about that with some high school kids that are like that have had multiple concussions. It's like, this is not going to be a pro sport for you in the future. I mean, how much more are you going to go through this? And it's a high level question mark. I mean, 1 or 2 concussions, it happens. You start getting up to 6, 7, 8. I mean, for some of these guys, and the more you play, I mean, they played from youth on. That's a long period of time to play a brutal sport.
It truly is. And, I hope the very best for Tua. And you can take this, you can take this subject and you can turn it around any way you want. I actually heard last night, I was in the car and I heard one of the overnight, national hosts here on 97.3, but I thought his point was actually fairly salient, which is that today we all make a big deal about this, but then tomorrow we move on to the next story, and then the games are played on Sunday, and then you're right back to the commoditization of the athlete, to Tua being something in your phone that you're moving in and out of your lineup.
To me, that's all sports.
It is. It is, absolutely. But, if you were really concerned about this, the concern was before he took the field. The fact that we're willing to watch him run out on the field is our complicity in the situation from the outside. And obviously it's his choice to play, and it's the Dolphins' choice to hire him and everything else in between. But also we're all kind of a part of it as the spectators of it, because we're out there, go, Tua, go, and realistically it's probably the worst thing for his life going forward. And also it's the best thing for his life because it's the source of all of his legacy. What a difficult situation.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation. I think you got to be allowed, especially in the United States, we live in a country where people are allowed to make their own decisions. I think you should be allowed to make your own decision based on, the risks and the pros and the cons of said thing. I think the biggest problem with the NFL, and the one that could probably save them in the long run, is taking care of their athletes during and post, like Major League Baseball does, which is not nearly as grueling of a sport on your body and takes years off your life as football, especially if you want to keep it the sport that it is. And again, it's the same thing. You put all these rules in for the defense, but you don't do it for the offense because you care about the points more than you care about the player. I mean, that's a scary hit for Damar Hamlin too. Damar Hamlin, who already had an injury to his chest, took a helmet square to the chest that Tua put his head down. And a lot of these big contact injuries start with some offensive guys putting their head down to try to get more yards when that should be eliminated from football just as much as a big hit from a defensive player.
When we come back, it's time for our last silly game of the week. It's time to play Mind the Gap. This was a 2 Mind the Gap week. We had it on Monday, so it's back here on Friday, our game of multi-generational trivia, where you will take me on head-to-head, and you're going to need to answer a trivia question aimed at a boomer, at a Gen Xer, a millennial, and a Gen Z. Can you do it? We'll open up the lines right now, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you can come in and beat me in Mind the Gap, you'll be qualified for a chance to win our grand prize, a 2-night stay at Wynn or Encore Las Vegas, and 2 tickets to see Awakening, the thrilling spectacle at Wynn Las Vegas, a mythic adventure that unfolds set amid the most technologically immersive theater ever designed. Tickets are on sale now at awakening.com. So we will come back and play our silly game, Mind the Gap, next, but we need a contestant first. 833-288-0973. Give us a call. We'll line you up, and we'll play when we return. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. 12:45 is the time. We hit our time mark today to play our final silly game of the week. Monday through Friday, we give you an opportunity in this, our third segment of the 12 o'clock hour, to come on the show, to play a game, to be a contestant. It's a different game every day, and every time it has the same opportunity, the chance to be qualified for our end-of-the-month grand prize drawing. This month, it's always a Vegas getaway. This month, it's a 2-night stay at Wynn or Encore Las Vegas and 2 tickets to see their spectacular show, Awakening. So, the cycle of games has landed on the game of multi-generational trivia, known as Mind the Gap. It's time to play Mind the Gap, and today's contestant is Dakota in El Cajon. Hi, Dakota. Welcome to the show.
What's up, Elsten? How you guys doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Absolutely great.
Tell us a little bit about yourself before we play the game.
Yeah, I'm Dakota. Lived in San Diego my whole life, and newlywed. Got married a couple months ago.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Are you a millennial, Dakota?
I am a millennial,
Nice.
so hopefully I can get that category.
You're of marrying age. That's why it was just a guess. Just a guess. All right. Well, great. It is great to have you here, Dakota. We appreciate you listening to the show. We appreciate you supporting it. And now let's see if you can get a win out of it. Time to play Mind the Gap. Here's how it works. We have converted the board game into a radio-friendly version. We have 4 different trivia buckets, essentially. Boomers, Generation X, Millennials, Generation Z. You're going to go first, and then we're going to alternate going back and forth, picking one of those categories to try and solve it. Then Braden will even give you a choice of which topic within that you want. Stuff like TV, radio, or
TV and
headlines.
film, pop culture, music, headlines, and slang.
There you go.
Perfect.
So you'll answer it. If you get it right, boom, you've cleared the category. If you get it wrong, I've got an opportunity to try and steal that category as long as it's still open for myself. We'll go back and forth until one of us has cleared all 4 categories. The only other rule you need to know, Dakota, it's a good rule that can help you. You've got 2 lifelines. One time you can ask Annie for help to try and answer a question, and one time you can ask Braden for help to try and answer a question if you think they know it and maybe you don't. I do have that same opportunity myself. Does it all make sense?
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right, man. You are up first. You want to go Boomer, Gen X, Millennial, or Gen Z?
Let's take Gen Z off the board.
All right.
TV and film, pop culture, music, headlines, or slang.
Let's start with slang.
Slang. The popular phrase shortened to HMB implied that one outrageous act would be answered by an even more outrageous act.
Did it hold my beer?
Oh, it's got to be.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Well done,
Hold my
Dakota.
beer.
Good job, Dakota.
I was really I wasn't. I don't think I was going to come up with that. That's a good one. Very well done. Okay, first up for me, I'm just going to work on the opposite side of the board. Let's go Boomer.
Okay, Boomer. Any specific?
No, I always mind. This is another advantage that the caller gets.
You'll take the random category.
I'll take the random.
Right.
Name the car created by AMC, described as, quote, a cute little wagon, but by others as, quote, dorky and, quote, ugly. It had a small back seat and no tailgate, but was cheap and functional.
Is that the Pinto?
No.
Dang. Dakota, if you know it, you can steal.
I already looked at the answers, so you can't look.
I don't know it. I don't know.
That'd be the Gremlin.
The Gremlin. Before my time. But well, that's the whole nature of this game. It's before my time.
That's before or after my time. Some people.
All right, Dakota, back to you. I failed, so you got 3 left. Boomer, Gen X, or Millennial?
I'll do millennial.
All right.
Same category or different category?
I'll do slang again.
All right, slang. From Randy Jackson's overuse on American Idol, what slang term used for any person entered pop culture? What did Randy Jackson use on American Idol so many times?
Is it dog?
It's
I don't know.
dog.
gotta be
Is
dog.
it?
It's
No way.
dog.
Yeah, it's gonna be a no from me,
D-A-W-G.
dog.
That's a no
Yeah.
from me, dog.
I had that
That's all I
one
can
ready.
remember him saying.
I had that one ready to cue.
One of the
at least.
questions
I
was
didn't realize he used it that much. I didn't
Oh, yeah.
watch every week, though. Okay.
the question for
Dog.
the question for pop culture was what was LimeWire? It's hilarious.
Wait, are we answering it or
No, we're not. I mean, you can if you want. It
What
says
was
what
LimeWire?
was
pirating music
Oh,
service.
that's right, that's right.
yeah, a
right?
way to
Like,
download media.
Yeah.
Like
LimeWire.
Napster, right?
Napster and
Yes.
LimeWire, yes.
My brother used to have like 500 CDs that he downloaded from Napster.
And you'd burn it on or whatever.
Yeah.
You'd burn it on the CD.
Was that in like the Italian Job? I invented Napster, but he stole it. He said it was Napster because I was taking a nap when he stole it. It's a great movie.
But we digress. Back
Moving
to
on.
me. I'm going to try millennial myself.
All right. This famous couple made headlines when they married and 10 years later when they consciously uncoupled.
Consciously uncoupled. Is that Kanye and Kim?
No.
No.
I only knew one half of this. I don't know the husband.
Is it Bennifer?
It's not Bennifer.
Who is it?
Wait, does he get to guess?
No, he has already cleared Milwaukee.
It's a Gwyneth Paltrow and
It's Gwyneth Paltrow,
Brad Pitt?
CM,
CM.
Chris Martin.
Chris Martin. I didn't know Chris
Oh.
Martin. Yeah.
All right, next question.
Dakota, you're killing me.
Goop,
Gen X or
goop.
Boomer? Go for it. What do you want? Dakota.
No, he hung up.
Oh,
Yep,
Dakota.
there he's back. Gen X or Boomer?
You're back.
Dakota.
I'm back. Oh,
Yeah.
I made it. Okay.
Don't hang up.
I'll do Gen X. Sorry, I ran out of service.
What deal? What question?
Sling again. I like it.
This set of digits became slang for information or gossip.
Set of digits.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shoot. Digits.
What's the
You got a lifeline.
411.
411
got
is
it. You don't
correct.
need
You
the
don't need the
lifeline.
lifeline.
Jeez, I was thinking I might get
Had
a
that
steal
for you.
finally.
All right,
Yes.
Craig.
It doesn't even matter. I'm down 3-0. I'm like an NBA team thinking about Cancun. Give me Gen X.
Gen X. All right. The People's Court debuted in 1981 with this man as the judge and Rusty Burrell as the bailiff.
15 minutes till Wapner. 17 minutes till Wapner.
Yes.
Remember Rain Man? Judge Wapner.
Yes.
Judge Joseph Wapner.
I wouldn't have had that.
Back alive.
Yeah.
All right, Dakota. Boomer for you.
For the win.
You want to
Dakota.
stick with the slang?
What are the categories for it again?
TV and film, pop culture, music, headlines, and slang.
I'll do pop culture.
Pop culture. Considered a poet of the people, he created poems the working man could understand, winning him 2 Pulitzer Prizes and another Pulitzer for a biography of Lincoln.
Oh my gosh.
The initials.
Stuck with slang.
I'm gonna have to throw my lifeline on this one. And
No, I
call it
knew
Andy.
411, Dakota.
I don't know
Oh,
poets, my
God.
guy.
CS.
Oh,
CS. This is my only chance
CS.
to steal.
Take a guess because we're running out of time.
Okay, I don't know. Go ahead.
That'd be Carl Sandburg. Craig, back to you.
Boomer.
Carl
Let's go Boomer,
Sandburg.
because then if he steals, he wins.
What was meant by the term flatfoot?
A detective.
That is correct.
Oh, I
Back
thought
to
it's like-
Boomer for Dakota.
all right.
In 1956, the Soviets brutally crushed a revolution in this Eastern European country.
Eastern European country.
I'm not thirsty,
Do I
I
have another
am.
lifeline or no?
I'm not thirsty, I am.
Hungary?
Hungary!
Oh! Or as Tony calls it, Hungary.
Didn't get that with you saying the term. I'm like, oh,
Sometimes Braden's looking at the clock and he just wants to make sure
Yeah.
the game's
Good
over.
job,
and that is
Dakota.
completely good. Dakota, we hope you win. Stay right there, buddy. Braden will get all your information to put you into the contest drawing, and let's see if you get to Vegas by the end of it. Thank you for
thirsty, I'm
calling and
hungry.
playing Mind the Gap.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Dakota.
What other hint was I going to give
This
him?
guy's out here doing $25,000 pyramid hints. Going, if it's not thirsty, it's
Hungry.
The last thing we needed is no winner as the time started going down.
Once
No,
he went
you're
away
right.
from slang, it was like, no, Dakota, just stick with slang.
I didn't even switch the card on the last one. I just went through all the questions on the last card. There's only
hilarious.
one more that we didn't. Name the pianist who began his career at 16 years old and became known for the ornate pianos, flamboyant costumes, and candelabra.
Liberace.
And his brother George Liberace.
Liberace.
All right, we passed that entire card. Throw that one away.
All right.
At the bottom of the deck.
Yes. It is at the bottom of the deck.
Another fun finish to the 12 o'clock hour.
Got some good winners this week.
We really have. Great job, Dakota. At least I got 2 right.
Yeah.
A flatfoot, also known as a gumshoe.
Detective or
I
police
thought it's like
officer.
don't get caught flat-footed. Like,
Or just they were out on the beach, so they're always out on the beach, so they got flat feet. Hour number 4 of Annie and Elsten after this. Back with you for the final hour of our get-together. Annie and Elsten here with you, hour number 4 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, with Annie Heilbrunn and Braden Soprenet. Craig Elsten with you from our Odyssey studios overlooking sunny, balmy Murphy Canyon. Perfect San Diego weather has returned. Early mid-70s.
Oh, it's so nice.
So
it was
lovely.
cool last night.
It was.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it
Almost
was.
thought about putting a jacket on in Spring Valley. But
Did
I
you
didn't.
really?
Well, I didn't have one, so it's not like the debate was very long. I was like, do I need to start bringing a jacket? Because, like, literally 3 days prior, I was sweating. But, yeah, I got a little chilly. I had my sleeves on anyway, so it worked out. But,
It was nice.
yeah, it was nice. I mean, it wasn't, like, cold. I'm not cold before people start freaking out. Oh, you call that cold? It's not cold. It's a little chilly.
It's a reminder that fall is almost here. Baseball season is almost over. But for the San Diego Padres, baseball season doesn't have to be over because this club is in position to get to the playoffs and to make a run. But first things first, to get to the playoffs. It's not over yet. Padres are in good shape. Nothing's been determined and nothing is promised. But they do have a 2.5 lead plus a tiebreaker over the first team out in the National League wild card standings. Now, everything else is a lot more jumbled. They're a half game behind Arizona, and they're only a game and a half, which is minus a tiebreaker, to the New York Mets. So the 4th seed, the 5th seed, the 6th seed, anything is a possibility for the San Diego Padres, Annie. Here's the key. This weekend is a key. It's not the key, but it's a key because the Padres play the Giants starting tonight, 7:15, up at Oracle Park. The Giants, a team with a losing record. The Giants, the one of only 2 remaining teams on the schedule that you're going to be favored against on the regular. And this is at the exact same time that all 3 National League division leaders play the 3 teams that you are in the mix against in the wild card. Arizona takes on Milwaukee, Dodgers take on Atlanta, Phillies take on the Mets.
Yeah, big weekend for the Padres as they are going forward, really. The Padres playing .667 ball since the start of the second half, but they're under 500 over their last 13 games. They've gone 6-7. The Giants lost 8 of their last 13 games, but they took 2 of 3 from the Padres. So you want to be able to take care of business. The Giants are winning the season series for this season against the Padres. So you want to be able to go in there and not let the Giants get the best of you because too much is at stake. Too much is at stake right now.
It really is. And tonight, let me just manifest into the airwaves what I want to see happen tonight. Tonight, I want to see Dylan Cease put this game on lock and have it be one that afterwards everyone just goes, well, there's Dylan Cease. When he's doing that, you have no chance. That's what you want to hear from Bob Melvin after this game was, well, we ran into a buzzsaw tonight, and the buzzsaw was wearing number 84, and his name is Dylan Cease. Because this is going to be a well-pitched game. Logan Webb is on the other side for San Francisco. He, as we just detailed in the Deep Dive Hour, is significantly better at home than he is on the road. He's been good against the Padres almost all the time. Yes, he'll give up some singles. He might even walk you. But you have to chain your hits together, and you have to avoid double plays. And he's rarely going to walk you. So you're not going to get too many free things from Logan Webb. Padres gave away a little bit too much the last couple of games with walks, with errors, with mistakes. Tonight needs to be a clean sheet. And if the Padres can do that, then you love their chances the rest of the weekend to take the series.
And I think they've got a great shot. I mean, they had an off day yesterday. I'm sure they didn't like sitting on that off day after the loss the day before, splitting the series with Seattle. So this is a team that I think we've seen rise to certain occasions when they've needed to. And I think they all for sure understand what's at stake. They don't want to be, putting themselves in a bad position here. So to the best of their ability, I think they're going to go out there and they're going to fight and they're going to try to put this series away in a way that, leaves them in a good position. Can't control the teams around you, maybe get some help since they're playing some tough opponents, the other teams in the wild card race right now. But for the Padres, you got to take care of business.
You really do. Of course, the Giants are playing some young kids. So, kind of the hangdog, woe is us, season's over. You're not really seeing that when you're watching the Giants right now because they got Tyler Fitzgerald at short. They got Elliot Ramos out in center field. You know, the kid McCray that obviously took 2 bombs against us last weekend. You know, they've got some young talent, to be sure. They're not a bad team. They're an average team. But the Padres are an above-average team, and it needs to show this weekend. Again, you know, when you asked a good question on yesterday's roundtable, Andy, you asked everyone for their panicometer number, and, you know, kind of the average is around 4. And I said I'm 2.5, but I'm telling you now, if the levers fall the wrong way this weekend, that panic meter is going to be well over 5 starting on Monday.
Yes. And I think that I don't think you're going to have to. I don't think the panic meter is going to go up that high. That's just my thought. I think they're going to take care of business like they need to this weekend, but you don't want to leave yourself with the possibility that, I mean, look, if they leave themselves with the possibility, they're just going to have to play those games and fight for that, you know, to keep pace in the wild card race. So like we talked about earlier in the show, it's not like your season is over if you lose this weekend. You know, you're not eliminated from the playoffs or anything like that, but it does get harder. It gets more pressure on you. It gets a lot more intense. And this is a team that's responded to that. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to play all those cards unless you have to.
Correct. So that's what's coming up. Sam Levitt's got the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show coming at 6:15.
I also think it's important for Dylan Cease, right? Important for Dylan Cease to string together some consistent outings to go out there and feel good about how he's throwing before hopefully the Padres are seeing it in the postseason.
Dylan Cease has pitched to a 3.71 ERA this year, which is probably a little bit higher than some Padres fans would have pegged it if you just asked them, oh, what do you think Dylan Cease's ERA is? They're probably like high 2s or really low 3. No, it's 3.71.
How does it compare to his
career?
I mean, obviously, we have a few games, you know, a few more weeks left here. But yeah, to his career,
his career ERA is 3.80, so it compares pretty darn equally. He's had 1 year that he put it all together and had that 2.2 ERA in 2022. But around that, his ERAs were 5.79, 4.01, 3.91, 4.58, 3.71. So Dylan Cease has never been the most consistent pitcher in Major League Baseball. He's had his ups and downs throughout his career. He's had bouts of dominance and bouts of inconsistency throughout his career. And we have certainly seen both of those things with the San Diego Padres this year. We've seen pure dominance for 8 start stretches twice this year. But the stretches where he's not dominant, it's not that he goes from dominant to really good. He goes from dominant to pretty mediocre, to a 4 or 5-ish ERA, to early homers, early runs allowed. And that's really been the thing for Dylan Cease. It's not just that he gives up runs. He usually gives them up early and puts his team in a hole right away.
Yeah, he's been known to give up some runs in those first and second innings, and especially I think the first inning earlier this year was an issue for him. But yeah, that's an interesting. I'm looking at it now, and 2.20 ERA in 2022, which was when he was a Cy Young candidate, right? But the year before that, 3.91. This year he's 3.71. Last year, his ERA was 4.58. So you want him to be able to feel good about some of the ways that he's, you know, some of the starts that he has before he's heading into what the Padres hope to be some work in the postseason, right? And feel good about his mechanics, feel good about where he's at. Yeah, for sure. I had a thought, but now it just completely went away from my head.
Just here's another interesting note of how inconsistent he's been, right? He's 12-11 this year. In terms of his win-loss record, Dylan Cease. In his 12 wins, his ERA is 0.9. Now, listen, everyone has a better number in their wins than their losses, or else they wouldn't have lost the games. This one's a little more extreme. 0.91 in the games he's won, over 79 innings. In his 11 losses, 6.08 ERA. ERA over 6. So he's really been either really good or pretty bad all year long. Yeah. And what you really want to see in these last 3 games, honestly, you don't want to see anything but really good, because when he locks in, it seems like he locks in for 6 or 7 starts. So you want to see that thing start. You want to see it get going tonight. 7 innings, 1 hit. That's the kind of thing you want to see tonight.
Yeah, and if for some reason it doesn't lock in this start or the next start, you want it to lock in before October 1st hits, right? But the other thing with the Padres, you need it right now. You need everyone kind of bringing whatever they have inside of them. They've got to bring to the table right now because you need these wins. It's not like you're so far ahead that you can just kind of relax at this point. The other thing to watch too is they've got 6 games in a row, and which doesn't seem like a lot. It's no big deal really, but 3 in San Francisco and then 3 against the Astros at Petco Park. And all I look for in that is you got to manage the bullpen. I mean, you're not going to have the off days, so you're going to hope for some laughers at some point. Maybe you're on, the winning end of that where you can get up like 13-5 or whatever the number is, and get your bullpen some rest. You're going to have to use those guys because you would think that those Astros games are going to be pretty competitive as well.
I got one more for you, and then I want to turn things over to Braden to give us a football preview for the weekend. Because this blows my mind. Dylan Cease has given up 18 homers this season in 170 innings. Okay, pretty good, right? 1 every 10 innings. 14 of those 17 homers have been hit in the first 3 innings of his outings. So he's given up 17, but 14 of them have been in the first, second, or third innings, including 7 in the first inning.
So early runs.
First time through.
I mean, it seemed like such a pattern for him to start the season, and I think that we saw it. I can't remember, honestly, but I think we've seen him give up a few in this last stretch that he's had of a little bit of inconsistency.
Yes.
And it happens early on because he even talks about it after the game. You credit him and you credit any starting pitcher for being able to continue to go out there and give your team innings, especially at this time of year. They need you to get to 5 or 6 innings at the least. So he's been able to lock in and give that to the Padres, but damage was done in those first few innings.
That's exactly it. So early action in this game is going to be absolutely critical because guess what? Logan Webb also is a pitcher that gives up most of his action in the first inning.
And the Giants are going to look at that for their scouting report, and the Padres are going to look at that for Webb's scouting report. And so I would imagine trying to be aggressive early is going to be on the mind of both of these teams.
So there's your Padres preview for the Padres and the Giants tonight at 7:15. Braden, what's going on with the college scoreboard coming up this weekend?
I got a lot to talk about in college football. A lot of games to report on, obviously. Some to pay attention to this weekend. And here's some of the games that will actually get underway tonight. We got a good game starting tonight in college
Time now for
football.
the fastest.
Hang on.
I'm messing you up here with one thing, Braden, and I'm sorry. Just because we were just talking about the Bills and Tua, shout out to Bills Mafia, who donated like over $20,000. It just showed up in my algorithm because you were talking about it. To Tua's foundation.
Oh, that's
since
great.
last night, like just to hope he's okay, sort of thing.
College football games, one big one tonight. It's the Wildcats and the Wildcats for the first time as Big 12 foes. Arizona, 20th ranked team of the country, 2-0, going to Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. 14th ranked Kansas State Wildcats are favored by 7. They're also 2-0. This game will be at 5 o'clock on Fox for Fox Friday football. We'll see how the ratings do. Friday football is mostly for high school, but we'll see. Should be a good game. Kansas State's favored by 7. Your Saturday slate, Alabama's at Wisconsin at 9 a.m. on Fox. Bama, a 16-point favorite on the road. LSU's at South Carolina. They're a 6.5-point favorite. That game's at 9 a.m. on ABC. Finish up the morning slate for you if you want to go out there and watch some college football on your couch from start to finish. Boston College, 2-0, 24th ranked Eagles going to Missouri, the Show Me State, to take on the Tigers. They're 6th in the country. Mizzou's is favored by 14.5. That game will be at 9:45 on the SEC Network. Midday slate, got some rivalry games with some Pac-12 conference teams and some Big Ten conference teams. Oregon State, 12:30 on Fox. The Ducks that are ranked 9th in the country, 2-0, taking on the 2-0 Beavers from Corvallis, Oregon. The Ducks are favored by 16. Washington State Cougs will take on the Washington Huskies in Seattle at Lumen Stadium, where the Seattle Seahawks play. It's a neutral site. Huskies are favored by 5.5. That game will be on Peacock at 12:30.
That's the Civil War and the Apple Cup.
Correct.
Before any snow falls.
Correct.
That's weird.
I don't know. They changed their name. It's not the Civil War anymore, but the Apple Cup remains true. But yes, before it starts snowing outside, because got to get the games in before you get to your new conference play.
Yeah.
Texas A&M's at Florida. The loser of that game will fall to 1-2 and really behind in the SEC standings. 12:30 on ABC. Late show, the UCF Knights at the TCU Horned Frogs. A 1-point swing in this one. Both teams are 2-0. 4:30 on Fox. Start Big 12 action. Georgia's at Kentucky. 4:30 on ABC. Georgia's ranked number 1 in the country. They're a 22-point favorite. We're going to rip through the NFL slate. I'm going to have whether or not you pick with the spread or not, and buy or sell the bold prediction. New Orleans Saints are at the Dallas Cowboys. Both teams are 1-0. Cowboys favored by 6. Who you got?
I got the Cowboys.
I got the Cowboys.
I got the Cowboys, 2 to cover. Buy or sell, Derek Carr for the Saints will throw for over 300 yards.
Sell.
I'll
Yeah,
sell
I
that
sell.
as well. Had a good day last week, but I don't know.
Yeah, but it was against a crap team.
That team was so bad. But I hope that team wins this weekend. Stay tuned. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Detroit Lions. Both teams are 1-0. Bucs went 0-2 against the Lions last year. As mentioned in the Sports Fix, they'll be missing multiple starters. Lions are favored by 7.5 at Ford Field. Who you got?
Roar, Lions, roar.
I guess we got to pick our
We have
team,
to pick the
correct?
Lions,
Yeah, I'll
yes.
take the Lions. I'll take the Lions. 7.5 is a big spread, though.
It is. I actually kind of think the Bucs might cover.
Bucks
But-
cover. I got the Lions winning. Jalen McMillan of Tampa Bay will have a 60-yard plus game as a wideout. Buy or sell? I could buy
okay.
that.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Everybody's worried about Mike Evans.
Yeah, that's fair.
Chris Godwin.
That's fair.
Indianapolis Colts at the Green Bay Packers. Colts favored by 2.5 on the road at Lambeau. Packers are going to go with a new. They're going to go with what's his name? Malik. I forget his name. Their backup quarterback. From
'Cause Love
Liberty
is out.
that they had. Yeah, Love
No
is
Love.
out. They got the guy that was the high draft pick for the Titans, and he's going to be starting for the Packers.
Okay.
Colts favored by 2.5. I'll take the Colts in this one.
Yeah.
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis. That's right.
What you talking about, Willis?
Buy or sell, the Packers will turn to Sean Clifford to save the day at quarterback. I will buy that.
Okay.
I think Sean Clifford comes in.
The
of
Packers
Malik.
are all love, right? I mean,
yeah, for the most part. Got decent weapons and
yeah,
stuff. But
I'll go with you.
Malik
I'll go
Willis
with
was not
Colts.
very good with Tennessee. So, Sean Clifford, Penn State guy, maybe he gets the job done after the Packers dig themselves in a big hole. Jets are at the Titans, 2 0-1 teams down in Nashville. Jets are favored by 3.5. Who you got?
Mayonnaise.
You got the Titans plus 3.5?
One Titans plus
Do they
3.5,
win
I think.
too or no?
I think they might win.
Oh, wow. Annie.
I got the Jets.
Jets,
Yes.
Jets. I'll take the Titans in this one, plus 3.5. I do think
Mayonnaise.
the Jets are better. Sauce Gardner for the Jets won't allow a single reception again. I'll buy that. He's pretty good.
I'll buy that.
Titans are.
Mayonnaise
yeah.
man had a bad time.
He'll just
last
throw the
week.
other side. He'll throw to the other side all the time.
San Francisco at Minnesota. Niners by 5.5.
I got Niners.
I got San Francisco.
Vikings, let's go.
Are you kidding?
Why not at
You're
home?
Believing in Sam Darnold, I guess.
Yeah, it's a cover.
All right. Oh, to cover, not to win.
cover.
Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk is on fire. Will record 100 yards plus receiving. Since I have in fantasy, I'm going to buy that because I
gonna
hope
buy
it
it.
happens.
I'll sell it because he's still coming back. And Peyton's mad at him. Get him to be in camp. Get in camp.
Seahawks at Patriots. Both teams are 1-0 up in New England. Seahawks are favored by 3.5. Drake May took 30% of the one snaps. Take that for what it's worth.
I'm going to go Seahawks.
Me too.
I'll take-
Patriots train ends.
I'll take the Pats.
That's fine.
Whoever plays left tackle for the Patriots will give up 3 sacks. I will buy that.
Yes, I will buy that too.
Because they don't even know who's playing left tackle. So I'd imagine it's probably not going to be good for him. Giants at the Commanders. 2 teams trying not to be in last place in the NFC East. Commanders by 1.5. I will take Washington. They look.
G-men on the road.
I'll go Washington too.
The G-men did not look good.
No, they
Commanders.
didn't. That's why they're going to bounce back. In
The
game
Commanders
2.
look pretty decent against Tampa. We'll see. Dorrance Armstrong will record his first sack for Washington. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not? For
Bye.
S's and gigs, we'll say so. Chargers favored by 6 in Carolina against the Panthers. The 1-0 Chargers, the 0-1 Panthers. Panthers got blown out by New Orleans on the road.
God.
I don't like taking the Chargers
I'm
just
taking the
because,
Panthers.
but the Chargers will win. I think they'll cover. And if they don't, LOL.
Chargers are going to be 2-0. Chargers are going to win and
Panthers
cover.
are going to have like a amazing day.
How about this for a bold prediction? Chargers will run 10 consecutive run plays before the fourth quarter.
Yes.
So at any point in time, you'll see 10 run plays in a row.
Yes.
I'll buy that.
I'm selling that.
Harbaugh's weird.
He is weird.
Browns at Jags. Jags by 3. I'll take Jacksonville.
I'll take the Browns.
I'll take the Jaguars.
Browns look. God, Watson looked
Like
really
Brownsy?
bad.
I'm mad at the Browns.
Oh,
Jerry
that's right.
Judy. Are you going to
What
keep
can
your
you do?
pick,
Gotta
Annie?
see- No take backsies.
No takesy backsies. That's your team. Jerry Judy will have a 100-yard day for the Browns and a bounce back. I could buy that. A little trash time thrown around.
Yeah.
Get up to 100 yards.
So,
Raiders at Ravens. Ravens by 9. Both teams are 0-1. I'll take Baltimore.
yeah, I like that. I think Baltimore is going to just curb stomp them.
Right.
Mark
Good
Andrews will
game for
have
them
5
last week
receptions
and
for
lost,
60
but-
plus.
Yes.
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Especially since everybody's on the board of Isaiah Likely.
Right.
Afternoon slate, we'll finish with this. Rams at Cardinals. Cardinals in a coin flip game, favored by 1.
Rams.
I'll take the Rams.
I like the Rams.
Stafford posted quarterback rating over 85. The Rams win, I say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing as we picked them, we have to say that.
I mean, he could be really bad. They just destroy him on the
A lot
run.
of defense interceptions and
You could be the Steelers and not score a touchdown and still win the game. Speaking of, Steelers are favored by 2.5 in Denver.
yeah, Steelers.
I'll take the Steelers.
Broncos get their first win at home.
Does that change if Russell Wilson plays?
Then Broncos still get their first win
I
at
agree.
home.
In fact, I think the Broncos win. Broncos win if Wilson plays. I think Steelers win if Fields plays. How about
Interesting.
that?
I like
I'll
it.
take the Steelers. George Pickens will record under 25 yards. He'll get shut down.
Oh, I'm going to sell that.
I'm buying it.
Okay.
I
Patrick
don't care.
Surtain the second. It's pretty good.
I have no
Bengals at Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 5.5. Bengals without T. Higgins. Cincinnati looked awful against the Patriots at
Sure
home.
did.
Chiefs.
This is
I'll
where
take Kansas City.
This is where the smart better might
Make some dough.
just say, listen, everyone's so down on Cincy, so up on Kansas
Maybe the
City.
Chiefs are maybe Travis Kelce didn't get all his reps in this week, hanging out with Taylor or something.
I hope not, because I'm in fantasy, Annie. So let's not talk that bad juju on Friday the 13th into the air.
But probably it's the Chiefs, and I know Burrow hasn't been very good in September.
Trap
so
game.
I'll go Chiefs.
Bengals aren't very good.
Chiefs.
Trey Hendrickson of Cincinnati will record 9 or more pressures because he's
So-
going against the lousy
Yes.
offensive lineman for the Chiefs, is what it says. Sure. I mean, a definition of a pressure. It's not like he needs
and
9
for Mahomes,
sacks.
he can elude
he breaks
that.
the pressure.
Yes,
Hey, you could still pressure a guy and have the guy throw it downfield.
that's right.
Got to get there. Just put pressure on. I'm sure Max Crosby has a lot of pressures against Kansas City. Doesn't really show up too much.
Big key to me for the whole week is Lions take care of business. Tampa Bay's coming in a wounded animal. They don't have their pirate ship. No cannonballs coming. Lions take care of business, get to 2-0. One more step towards the ultimate consumed kneecap.
San Diego State's at Cal. Your thoughts on that?
Bad news.
Well, and they're dealing. Isn't their quarterback injured? Isn't
Yes. Danny O'Neill.
Danny
O'Neill's
O'Neil.
beat him. I'd like to see the Florida State kid play at this point. Give him a shot.
and their left tackle? So yeah, I think you got it right. Exactly. You got to see what this other guy's got.
Yeah, I mean he's a
backup house.
redshirt freshman. It's not like he's super old either. So we'll see what they each got. What is Cal favored by? Let me check real quick. San Diego State is a 17.5-point dog on the road in Berkeley,
I was
California.
literally going to say 18. So
You know what would be great though is a San Diego weekend in the Bay Area. 4-0 sweep, baby.
hey,
Excuse me.
listen, I don't know. Is Woodsy going to go? Like,
I doubt he's
Woods
going,
is
to
going to the-
Aztec game. But
Oh,
that's what we're saying. I know he's going to the Giant game tonight, but is he going to skirt on over to? Wasn't it Strawberry Canyon where they play in Berkeley?
all I know is their stadium is built on a fault line and it cuts the stadium in half. So if there's an earthquake, the stadium gets split in half.
okay.
Fun.
Wait, I'm. Oh wow, that's a little. It's Friday the 13th. They're not playing till tomorrow, though, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just reading Kurt Kenny right now. He just put it out a half hour ago. Danny O'Neill with a knee injury, but it isn't evident whether O'Neill has increased his activity and will be able to play. So you might be seeing the backup guys this weekend.
You know, maybe Cal's just so excited that they went down to Auburn and won. Trap game. Letdown game.
Trap game.
Maybe we'll see Aztecs fast for the first time.
Cal quarterback Fernando Mendoza was 25 for 36, passing against Auburn for 233 yards and 2 touchdowns. He completed 19 of 21 passes in his first half.
Tickets as low as $14.
Go now to
The
gocalbears.com.
whole weekend's up in the Bay Area.
Listen, in a different universe, I'd probably be up there. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, why aren't you up and seeing all your San Francisco teams that you love so much?
Yeah, right?
What?
That's because he's busy rooting on all the Arizona teams.
Your San Francisco treats.
Yeah, of course. Right, my San Francisco treats.
You could go to Bodine while you're there.
Yeah,
Get some
exactly.
sourdough.
And
I
say
hope
it,
Woods
say
goes
it,
there.
say it how the French guys say it, and see if they kick you out.
Baudin.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Baudin. I thought it was Baudin.
You know what? Missed opportunity for Craig to watch his beloved Diamondbacks play the Brewers, and then his beloved Cardinals play the Rams.
Oh, wow. I could have gone.
What a missed opportunity for you.
Whoops.
You could have got out there early, watched
Whoopsie-daisy.
the Arizona Wildcats play
Oh,
Kansas
geez.
State tonight at a bar. God, that's a great. What a missed opportunity.
Somebody's
for Craig.
calling in right now and thinks you're serious and not just trolling me.
Wait,
Someone
about
actually.
which part? That you love the Diamondbacks or that you love the Giants?
Well, but they're
Both?
both equally false.
Well, he grew up a
So-
Dodger fan too. He just loves everybody in the
right.
NL West. Ah,
Blue Meanie, I did grow up in Long Beach. So,
Long Beach.
I
in the
thought Craig
wood.
was from
LBC.
LA. Guy doesn't get it.
no.
Guy
Long
doesn't
Beach and,
get it.
and LA are not the same thing, but they are close.
Guy picks the
We had a lot
Diamondbacks
of
one
dance
time on a
competitions
round
in Long
table.
Beach.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where would you dance?
Braden.
Long Beach Convention Center.
Yeah, there was like I think
Yes,
it
there was a
must have been.
dance
It was some
competition
theater
up
there
there.
that was always housing dance competitions. I can't even remember. Long
My
Beach High School could have been like a.
My
it was
sister
just-
competed in those for sure.
Right. It was. They were just always there. There must have been a great rate on and availability
Yeah, that's right.
on that because we always had them there.
And you're like, oh, well, it's not showstoppers. So.
Right.
But anyway, Craig picks Arizona one time. Now that's his beloved
Seriously.
Diamondbacks and
Yeah.
Cardinals.
and it was a draft where he
Suns.
wasn't allowed to pick
It
the
was
other
a
ones.
draft, and the Padres were taken first.
His wonderful rattlebacks, as he
I had the
calls them.
5th pick, I believe.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Never
the
forget
5th
Craig's
pick.
2024 World Series champion Diamondbacks.
Oh, Jeffrey.
Guy
you
can't wait
show
for the
up-
parade in the desert.
You turn up like a bad penny every time this comes up, Jeffrey Michael.
Craig's going to be so excited, cheering on his
Orthodox
Cardinals in the Super Bowl after watching the Waste Management Open.
Orthodox says in the chat, go get an It's It. Orthodox way ahead of you.
That's right.
I got 2 in the freezer right now.
It's time to go.
Media Melanie is up next on Annie and Elsten. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Indeed. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Their end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit. Okay. Second segment of the 1 o'clock hour on Friday. That means it's Media Melanie time. A chance to get caught up with Media Melanie and get a TV streaming recommendation for the weekend that will be. Melanie joining us in the 97.3 The Fan hotline right now. What's going on? How are you?
Well, Craig, thank you. Teeing up a big weekend of kids' sports here, so that is where I will be spending my weekend, and so goes the battle, yes.
Well, thank goodness that the heat's broken, so you won't have to be in dire straits all weekend when you're out there.
That's right. This cooler weather feels like a big relief, and, for some of you who want to sit indoors this weekend and, enjoy the cool weather and stream a show, I've got something for you.
Tell us what you got, Melanie. Lay it on us.
Well, the Emmys is actually coming up on Sunday. So as I've been doing, I'm featuring a nominee, and this one is actually in the Outstanding TV Movie category. Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story, is a Netflix comedy film that delves into the very quirky origins of the beloved breakfast pastry, Pop-Tarts. Now, have you watched this yet, Craig?
No, I have not, but I'm excited for this recommendation.
Yeah, it's different than I normally do, but you know what? It's an easy watch. It's an hour and a half, and it's got a really good cast. It is directed by and stars Jerry Seinfeld, and we definitely get a very satirical take on this competition between cereal giants Kellogg's and Post back in the 1960s, as they were both racing to invent the first toaster pastry. And as I mentioned, it is a stacked ensemble cast, including Seinfeld. We've got Melissa McCarthy, Christian Slater, Jim Gaffigan, Max Greenfield, James Marsden, Hugh Grant, Amy Schumer, and more. But my favorite part was Jon Hamm as Don Draper pitching a sexualized ad campaign for Pop-Tarts.
So this is set in the Mad Men universe, then, is what you're telling me.
I mean, kind of. They were very smart to loop in this Mad Men reference, and I thought it was just very smart given it's in the 60s era. Jon Hamm plays Don Draper, so it's a cameo basically as Don Draper. And I love Jon Hamm, and I just thought this tie-in was brilliant. It was definitely my favorite part of the movie as a whole. But it does blend historical facts and some not so factual information with Seinfeld's brand of humor. It's lighthearted. It's a very exaggerated portrayal of corporate America in the 60s. And it focuses on the absurd lengths that these companies went to in order to outdo each other, which resulted in the creation of one of the most iconic snacks in American history, which is the Pop-Tart. I didn't realize Post had their own version of it as well, so it was interesting to kind of get a little context on that. And again, this is just an easy, even background laundry folding type of watch on Netflix. It clocks in at an hour and a half, and it's rated PG-13, so it's also family friendly. And, if you're not looking for a big 2 to 3 hour movie or a whole series to dive into, this is just a really easy one to add to your watch list and consume.
I love it, Media Melanie. This sounds like a ton of fun.
I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, Unfrosted.
The Pop-Tart legacy.
Yes.
And Jerry Seinfeld is what, the head of Kellogg's? Is that who he is, or is he the inventor? What is he?
He is in the Kellogg side of things, and he's on the winning team, if you will. And he's very Seinfeld in this, and I'm curious to see how it does in this outstanding TV movie category. It's up against Quiz Lady, Scoop, Mr. Monk's Last Case, a Monk movie, and Red, White, and Royal Blue. So it's an interesting array. I haven't actually seen the other ones besides Quiz Lady, which I thought was terrible. So curious to see if it ends up taking home the trophy.
Very interesting. What is your favorite flavor of Pop-Tart?
Oh, I'm all about strawberry frosted Pop-Tarts, hands down. My definite favorite. Thank you for asking, Adam.
I think frosted cherry for me. I always like the cherry flavor. I don't know why, but that's me. Okay, well, I got one for you back, but it's basically just reporting back on our Tuesday guest, because Brian Grubb came on and he said that if you have Peacock, you should watch The Fall Guy, because The Fall Guy is a lot of fun, and it's got a little bit of everything. It's got some laughs and some action and some romance. And so last night I watched The Fall Guy, and it's exactly what Brian said. You know, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt have great chemistry. And Ryan Gosling is just great in these kind of movies. I mean, he has this ability to be like all at once. Certainly he's the sex symbol, right? He's so incredibly handsome, and he's really built in this movie as well. He worked out a lot for The Fall Guy. So, you know, he's ripped. You'll get to see his six-pack at some point, you know. So you've got that. You've got the sex appeal. But at the same time, he's always got this, like, kind of self-referential winking, making fun of himself, making fun of his own persona. And what he plays in this is the stunt man for a Tom Cruise wannabe, essentially. Somebody who in this universe is the universal action star, like the biggest action star. And he's the stuntman for that guy who has an accident, and then he comes back and is thrown into a movie and thrown into a caper because the key movie star goes missing and has disappeared. And so now the agent of the star is asking him to go in and try and find him because he's basically a nobody and nobody cares about him. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and it was 2 hours. So if you're looking for a weekend romp, watch Unfrosted and watch The Fall Guy. And you've got less than 4 hours in between the two, and you should have a ton of fun. Melanie, as always, you come through with a big hit. Let everybody know where they can follow you throughout the week.
Yeah, you can follow me at Media Melanie and subscribe to my YouTube channel at MediaMelanieTV.com.
Appreciate you so much. We'll chat with you next Friday.
Sounds good. Thanks. Have a good weekend, guys.
You too. All right. 1:40 is the time. Last segment is right around the corner. And that means we're opening up the phone lines to you. 833-288-0973 is our number. It's time for Ask Us Anything. This is how we wrap up every show all week long. So give us a ring. You've got 10 minutes to call the show. If you call before 1:50, we will get you on the air, I promise. All you have to do is come ready with a question. Doesn't even have to be about sports. Can be about anything. We'll come back and we'll do Ask Us Anything next, and we'll set things over for Gwen and Chris. It's Annie and Elsten, your midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Good.
especially the third day can be like really hard where your body's like, no, sleep longer. But once you get used to it, there's just no question it's the morning shift for me.
I would pick morning too.
I would
Because you're
too.
out the door 10:05.
Be done. Get it over
Give your
with.
whole day, right.
That's
yeah.
right. Otherwise, like you're waiting around all day to like the afternoon. I guess stay till like 7.
Gotta keep
They do get
thinking about
preempted
it.
a lot, but still,
That's
it's
true.
like I'd rather just wake
that's
up,
a
get the
good
work
point.
down, get the work done, and then leave.
Yeah. I'd be guilty of playing a lot of morning golf if I was filling in for Gwen and Chris. It would be drop off the boys straight to Mission Trails.
You'd be exhausted at work every day, though.
Well, it's okay. I mean, maybe that's why Chris brings so many snacks.
That's right. He's got to get through the day.
Here's Greg in Chula Vista. Hi, Greg. You're on with Andy and Elsten. Ask us anything.
Hey guys, I was just wondering, what's the favorite activity you've ever done while traveling?
Favorite activity while traveling?
I'll go back to my paddleboarding with a school of dolphins that I just happened to come across in Hawaii. And there was like another experienced paddleboarder out there and was able to be like, hey, just wait here. The dolphins are coming. And the dolphins did come. And then I got to like paddle with them for like a half hour. It was amazing.
I like going to sporting events on trips, on the sports trips. But I've done so many cool things on trips in the past that I can't even narrow it down to one. And I also am blanking on everything that I've done. So I'd say something I wouldn't agree with.
Yeah, I'm just going to, it's kind of like you said, we don't have time to think about it deeply and come up with an idea. But the thing that popped
Great
to the
question.
surface, and it is a great question, Greg, was when I was a kid the first time I visited Bryce Canyon. Bryce Canyon had a real impact on me. Like
I like Bryce Canyon.
It's a unique place in this country, and it's one of the most beautiful places in that afternoon sun. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth, but there's nothing like it. There's just literally nothing like it. And so I remember the first time being there and just kind of being blown away by something I'd never seen in my life.
Were you like 8?
Probably. I was somewhere in there.
You were like
8, 10, 12, somewhere in
feeling
there.
the effects of the beauty of it. Yes.
Yeah. So that's
cool.
an answer. I mean,
Have you been back to Bryce Canyon since?
we went 2 years ago.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, still amazing.
Bryce Canyon's cool. Zion is cool.
Super cool.
Done a lot of cool things on vacations.
Johnny in Forest Ranch is next. Hi, Johnny. Ask us anything.
Hello, happy Friday, all three of you.
Happy
Happy
Friday.
Friday.
Happy Friday. My question is out of the Padres, the Wave, and SDFC, which of them will bring us a championship first, and within what time frame?
Padres this year. Let's go.
Hard not to
Easy
go with the
cop-out
Padres
answer right
when it's sitting in front of them right now. The ability to go take a World Series ring.
Let's go. I'm going to take the cheap and easy answer.
That'd probably be mine, too.
I mean, otherwise I have no idea. There's no chance that San Diego FC wins a championship. Or is there? I mean, LAFC was pretty good right away, but
Never know.
maybe SCFC in 3 years could win a championship. Maybe in 5 years they could win a championship.
Do they even have all their personnel yet?
No.
We don't even know what their team looks like.
Wave should have won it last year. They should have won it last year. They just should have won it last year. So I'm going to go with
The
I'm gonna
Pods.
go with the Pods.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Go with our gutty little Padres. Martin in El Cajon is next. Martin, ask us anything. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. Yeah, I got a buy or sell for you. Given that the only two real positive streaks for the Padres have happened in 2022 and recently after the break, neither of those times were Fernando Tatis on the field. Should they trade him at the end of the year, given the haul that they could get for him?
No.
We've
No.
been getting a lot of
No.
Fernando questions and
So
ask
much-
us anything.
yeah.
I say no.
No.
Do not trade him. No.
I would be shocked. I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if they traded Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah, but would you trade him?
No.
I wouldn't trade him either.
No.
Why would you trade him?
Why would you trade him? He's actually his contracts might be team friendly in 2 years.
Isn't he
the way
25?
these contracts are
They
going?
Am I crazy? He's
They
25.
win more without him.
That
yeah, but
doesn't
Martin,
mean
that's
anything.
not. That's
Literally doesn't mean anything.
remember. This is a classic
They
logical fallacy.
literally win more without him.
Martin, causation doesn't equal correlation.
It doesn't.
They lost on Wednesday when he hit a homer and robbed a homer. Did those two things make the team more likely to win, or did they lose because he hit a homer and he robbed a homer, right? I mean, it's a dumb question. I'm not saying your question is dumb. I'm pointing out that Fernando Tatis Jr. is a great player doing great things, and if the team loses while he does a great thing, that doesn't mean it's Fernando's fault that they lost.
Otherwise, teams would just stack their lineups in the NBA based on plus minus. It'd only be plus minus. Like, well, we're better with him on the court than with him off the court.
He's a player you want on your team, and every other team would want as well. And you've got him, and you've got him locked in for 14 years. And I mean, it's
12 left.
Could you imagine if they traded him and he ended up on the Dodgers? People would be
he's going to be somewhere.
He's going to be somewhere. It's going to just make you incest about.
Yeah, we don't get to trade him to fictional European league for lots of great things.
Yeah, let's trade him to a team we never get to play. Let's trade him to the Miami Marlins, and we're going to get all these guys back. I mean,
we'd lose that trade. I'll just put it that way. We're going to lose that trade.
Just stop being dumb.
Padres made a great trade for Juan Soto. I don't know. I mean, it's not impossible. I want to give Martin that benefit.
Yes, Martin. You should be able to ask that question. But the answer is no.
Yeah, that's fair. One more. We got another Martin. This Martin's in Santee. Hi. Whoop, there's the button. Hi, Martin. Welcome to Annie and Elsten. You're the last up. Ask us anything.
First, I just want to comment on Annie's effort to keep the two boys kind of from going completely off the rails on San Diego State yesterday in the Pac-12 or the Pac-6 or whatever we're going to call it. So kudos to you, Annie, for just kind of being a little voice of reason in between the two of them, which was fun and great radio. Second, the question is, in the environment now with the portal, and I'm speaking to college football primarily and focusing on San Diego State, with the number of mistakes, and I'm focusing on the offensive line they've made, do coaches refrain from disciplining their players, sitting them down for a couple series because of, the idea that it's just like they're one and done? They could hit the portal because they get angry at a coach?
That's a great question, Martin.
It's a great question, Martin.
Yeah, it's kind of unanswerable for the three of us in here right now, but I think that's an interesting thing to think about.
Could be like an unspoken thing, right?
Yeah. Here's what's not unspoken. The show's over. Have a great weekend. See you.
Happy